Like Betty Boop can do, a saxophone can go. What a saxophone can, like Betty Boop can do. This little miss would never miss a chance for vocal tuning. And anytime and anywhere you can hear this lady crooning. An auto horn can go. What an auto horn can, like Betty Boop can do. Made of pen and ink, she can win you with a wink. Ain't she cute? Sweet Betty.
Betty Boop! Send her in! Hi! Lights out! Howdy, ho! Walk this way!
Okay.
Be seated!
Thank you.
Hocus pocus, ibbity bibbity, sibbity sam. I will now bear the naked truth of your baby days. I now see you on a steamer bound for a foreign land.
Is there anyone here?
No!
Oh. Excuse me. All by myself in the morning. All by myself in the night. I am alone, not a single soul is near, so unhappy.
Ay, ay, ay.
Dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. All by myself. Hurry up, quick! My hero!
Betty!
Bimbo!
Bunko!
Buttigieg from 2019 when I already said like, I'm over here trying to get, like, the CRT problem taken care of. And these people are, like, posting pictures of me with Pete Buttigieg from 2019 when I already said it's bizarre to me. Anyway, so this is just a quick stream. I just wanted to update you on what's going on. So to recap, there is a legitimate white supremacist movement that is co-opting the anti-CRT movement. That's real. This is not a theoretical thing. This is real, and I need people, and I know that people are like, Karlyn, everyone calls everyone a racist. I get it. I get it. I understand why the right is not paying attention to this. I get it. But it is real. And they're using language around white well-being, white positivity. They're the ones that inserted the anti-white language into the CRT discussion. So literally any time you guys see people saying critical race theory is anti-white, that's coming from an actual white supremacist movement. That's what it's coming from. And all this is on my Twitter. You can go and look at it for yourself. That's an actual white supremacist movement. That they've inserted that language to try to normalize the language, because what they're doing is they're recruiting out of the people that are responding to that language. And I've witnessed it firsthand. And if people don't want to believe this is happening, don't say I didn't warn you. What I would like, all that I would like, is for an actual journalist to do actual fucking journalism and investigate this. Because I have other shit to do, first of all. Like, I didn't ask to trip over this reality. And frankly, I'm a little bit perturbed that I've learned of this reality, but okay. And then we have people like this. We have people like this that are like, guys, any of the comments you see on my feed or anything like this, like, I've lost so much respect for you. These people are not real. That's not real. It's getting
okay, so I'm not real.
Because they're trying to discredit me.
I'm not real.
And that's fine. Nope. They can do that all they want. But it is what it is. So this is really happening. I'm very concerned about this. I've always said that I'm very concerned about an actual white power movement developing out of the anti-CRT movement. And I really think we're starting to see the beginnings of that. And I would really, really like for there to be an actual journalist to do actual journalism, and I can connect you with other people that I'm talking to, and I can provide you with information that I haven't shared publicly. And, if you guys have an issue that I'm blocking people on Twitter, I think you have your priorities fucked up.
All right.
She's being so ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's all for that video. Yeah, but I wanted to kind of open with that because that's the sentence that got my goat the other night or the other afternoon, and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of XD. Welcome everybody. I'm Irate Prostate, but this is XL show, so he needs to do some talking. So I'll shut up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Atima, how you doing? Apparently you're just sitting there sweltering because it's 106 degrees in Oregon.
In fucking Oregon, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, like, dude, nobody has air conditioning up here. Like, nobody. Well, I'm betting every restaurant is full right now, and I bet the grocery store is full of busy people.
Right on.
So I bet it's just, I don't even want to go find out. I'm probably gonna have to. I don't want to. These people are crazy.
No, exactly. They are.
Yeah, so it might seem a little odd if people don't pay attention to Karlyn Poroshenko that we are doing a video criticizing Karlyn Poroshenko, considering we've given her a lot of praise for other stuff that she's done. And I'm actually not going to doubt, I'm not going to take away from her the good things that she's done, right? Her response videos to those CRT professors were fantastic, right? They deserve praise. But what she's actually stumbled upon is something that's always, for the last 5-6 years, right? Ever since people started making anti-SJW videos on the internet, there's been a portion of that movement that were, to some degree, like white nationalists, white identitarians, that were also against it. In fact, they were some of the first people to really pick up on it. And of course they would be, right? Because these people kind of take CRT, they flip it on its head, and they want to create a positive identity, just like she said, around being white.
Okay.
It's not new, right? It's there's nothing like these Groypers, right? How long has Nick Fuentes been a name that's just an annoyance, right?
Like 2012 or 2014, he's been trolling and annoying people for fucking ever.
Yeah,
But
and that's
my
who
bigger
she's.
question is, but hold on, I'm going to challenge the entire premise. What's wrong with white positivity? You have Arab positivity, you have black positivity, you have Asian positivity. So why is it the automatic assumption and premise is that white people simply aren't allowed to have any pride in their skin tone just because of one country almost 100 years ago?
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
So it's one of those things where, like, I personally just I don't find race like a great thing to
I don't either.
identify around.
I'm just saying, but if you're going to say everybody else can do it, you can't just automatically say, okay, well, this one group, they aren't allowed to do it, but everybody else is.
Right.
And I think that's where it sticks my craw up, because I don't care for any of it, but you can't just exclude one group arbitrarily.
Exactly.
All right, we get $1 from Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. File not found. Donates $1. Thank you. Yeah, man, last night's Cream stream got deleted.
What?
Got the yeet, baby.
For what?
I have no idea. For violation of YouTube's community guidelines. I did not get a strike, however.
Weird.
So there's that. That's why I was kind of like going. If I sounded like more scatterbrained than usual, but right before the show, I was going, "What happened on last night's show? Hold on." It's like, no, they took it off, man. It was here
because you were giving us
it was here this afternoon. Yeah, man, they were giving me. Yeah, man. I don't know. It sounds like it got a hand flag. Anyway, fuck.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Let's do some more shit to piss her off.
Well, okay. So there's one big giant. When we're watching these, I would like to be able to pause and critique where she ignores everything she's been telling everybody to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first video was just a short clip that I already had and wanted to play it all the way through. But certainly the rest of the videos we have, we'll do the pause and play like we always do.
Okay.
Yeah. This all harkens back to, like, I actually unfollowed her because some of the stuff she was posting, like, it's so scattered, and she's attacking people that fundamentally are on their side. And the best thing you can do if you don't like these, Groyper types is ignore them. That's what everybody else did over the last 4 to 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, the only reason she's seen it is because she just found out they existed. And they've always, like I said, they've always existed. They've always been against CRT. Like, right, if you're a white identitarian and you have an idea that's explicitly anti-white, which is another issue we're going to get into, of course they're going to be against that idea too.
There were two
specific... What you do with that is you just ignore them. Right.
There was two specific streams where she was just focused on what was going on in the chat. And it sounded, it's right. I've noticed this with some like YouTubers that get really big, really fast, right? And they start caring what the chat thinks or what the chat's saying, and it's just like, I don't know, man. It didn't make any sense to me.
I mean, she can go back and look at, like, I think Sargon tackled this. I think even V tackled this with these people. Like, you can go back and watch older videos. Like, Stick Saxonhammer tackled it too.
Didn't Randy
like,
talk about
you can talk to them. Like, you can watch older ones where, like, the people that are part of this, I would say part of the anti-CRT movement, and were probably the early adopters. They've already dealt with these people. Like, they understand who they are. If anything, they provided an avenue to be like, obviously there's this anti-white ideology going around, but the solution we propose is not to fight back by collectively forming a white identitarian group. It's collectively forming a more universal liberal group that's against these ideas. I mean, the best thing, my number one argument against, like, to every white nationalist is like, all right, great. Like, some of them I understand their arguments a little bit, right? If you just look at demographics, and let's say you want to live in the most freest, most peaceful society possible, and you look at the way people vote, right? So if you want to live in a very libertarian-leaning society, most people that vote that way are white people. At the same time, the vast majority of people pushing CRT and socialist ideologies are white liberals.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, and occasionally, even whenever you listen to these people that, you know, they have strong feelings about their own whiteness. Even Jared Taylor was asked, well, like, what about people like Thomas Sowell in an interview? And he's like, well, he's white enough for me. Where he basically just did the same bait and switch that critical theory does, where he's replacing whiteness with a set of, like, an abstraction, a set of ideas rather than actual skin color.
You're being politically white.
Yeah, like, and I mean, I don't really think that's a thing, but you know, you break through the cracks and you see the issues with their arguments, and it's really easy to debunk. And Karlyn is just like going off the rails with some of these.
Well, yeah. And one of them is a young man who I don't even think he's fully an identitarian so much as he's just really defensive.
Mm.
Well, and that's what happened. I mean, that's why it's counterproductive, and we should probably just watch that video.
All right,
because I'm getting ahead of myself in some of my critiques.
All right, before we get going, all right, so I want to say hey to the chat. What's up, everybody? Philip Daniel, greetings. Spittle Buggies, hey, what's happening? B Token, greetings. Man Squatch, the one and only. And I said B Token, Philip Daniel, Mr. Goat Man. All right, we've been blessed by the goat, and you know everything's going to be all right. Joshua Damaris, it's good to see you, sir. And nice to have you back in the chat. Miss you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's all who's in chatting. Well, you know what? I'm stupid because
speak now or forever hold your peace.
Oh, you can't,
don't hold your peace.
You can't see who's in the chat like you can, like when you're at somebody's else. Anyway, no, I can. Never mind. All right. Enough of your shit. All right, but said hey to everybody, and that's the good shit. Okay, and my retard shit is mine and mine alone. Right. So all right, so we want to get going. All right, I have these in chronological order. Like stop referring to critical race theory as anti-white.
Okay, yes, let's start there because she makes a decent argument, but she does it in such a shit way that she actually sets herself up for this.
I think, all right. No, this is not all right. This is not from the same thing. All right. But there were like 3 or 4 different streams that she did. About,
oh my God.
She did more than that, right? Because she's got this other channel, but it was like this whole thing where she comes out hot and heavy. And then by like 4 or 5 days later, she's kind of like backtracking and trying to get, well, this is nuance, but all right, we'll get to that. All right. So let's roll with.
Okay, listen, we need to have a serious conversation about something that's going on right now in the fight against critical race theory. And I'm just going to say up at the front of this video, I'm going to get frustrated in this video because there are people in this fight that are behaving grossly irresponsibly, and if I'm not directing it at you, then my frustration is if you are not doing the things I'm going to talk about in this video, this is not directed at you. It's not. But for those people who are doing things like calling critical race theory anti-white and trying to frame critical race theory as an anti-white movement, you need to stop right now. You need to stop. It is not helpful. It is not going to advance this fight. It is not going to win anything. What you're going to end up doing is creating an actual white power movement in this country. And that's not even the only reason. The first reason that we shouldn't be framing this as an anti-white thing is because it's not true. It is too simplistic of an argument when critical race theory really has nothing to do with race to begin with. It has to do with power, and I'm going to explain that in this video.
Like, this is where I feel like she's playing this semantic game, and amazingly enough, like, I think she's using the same tools around language that CRT does to promote itself. Quite plainly, CRT is anti-white, right? It does, just like I was talking about earlier, when it's convenient, whiteness is just this abstraction that it's fighting against. It doesn't have to do with anybody's skin color, unless you're a white person, and then it tells you explicitly to reflect on your whiteness and how, your privilege is damaging to society, right? So
it's Schrodinger's race.
Exactly.
Yeah, be less white.
Yeah, so
Remember
it is
that?
anti-white, and there's no argument and there's no reason to concede just because somebody I might disagree with or somebody who might be saying other things that I disagree with is focusing on the anti-white part, right? The solution to this is like, yeah, it's anti-white, but the solution is not to do what you're proposing. That's it. Like, don't make the idea that it's anti-white, because it is. That's like, it says so. Like, it's explicitly anti-white. I don't know. There's no way around that. So rather, if you're trying to convince people not to go join these identitarian movements that are really only focusing on the anti-white aspect of CRT and not the other aspects of CRT, by telling them it's not anti-white, well, they're just going to be like, well, fuck you. And actually, I know it's anti-white. It's being directed at me. Like, they're not going to listen to you anymore. So everything she's trying to prevent, she's going to cause by pulling what I think is a very left, like, it is a common thing with people that have leftist tendencies to, anytime somebody, like, you have a position that somebody you don't like has that position, you try to find a way to retreat from that position, right? Because you want to go back to the cathedral and you want to be looked at as a good person.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, sure. I the good person part throws me off because I don't really care if people think I'm good or not.
No. But that's the only, what I'm pointing out is the only reason Karlyn has to come out and say we shouldn't call critical race theory anti-white. The only reason is because there's people that she thinks are bad people that focus in on that position. And the only reason for her to do this is because she wants to make sure that she's not lumped in with those people and she's considered, a good person. I'm putting that in quotes.
Well, I get what you're saying now.
It's almost like being a very smart person.
She's actually, I think she's really wanting to be accepted as an intellectual, if you listen to some of what she said. And the other thing is, she's a fucking sucker. Because the guy she's responding to that she's claiming is like, a white nationalist and all this, he's a white, all this kind of stuff. One, the dude she's responding to, motherfucker glows in the dark. Okay? He glows in the dark. The way he's talking.
What does that mean when people
dark.
say glows in the dark? Some people that were watching this may not know what you mean by that. Why don't you expound upon that?
He is using language and rhetoric and body language, like hand gestures and facial expressions, that I have seen uniformly taught by CIA agents to international assets to affect social change in other countries as well as domestically. We call them glow in the dark, and I don't really know why.
It comes from it comes from this crazy dude. That's a Medicare thing, where the guy referred to these glow in the dark CIA N words. He had schizophrenic, and so it's like a meme. But that's what it refers to, right? There's somebody that's in the CIA.
Also, real quick, Sisu in chat, welcome, says critical race theory has nothing to do with race bigots.
Yeah.
That's funny as shit.
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
That's right. These are good people, man. That's right. That's right. Me too.
funny.
All right, you want to keep rolling with this here video?
So, but anyway, I was just going to point out, she's
Go
a
ahead.
fucking sucker. She's not that bright. She's one of those very smart people, y'all. She may be right that it isn't inherently just anti-white in the sense that it really does degrade all races because it puts everybody down.
I think that maybe she was seeing what was going on as a possible jumping off spot to end up on Candace Owens and end up like at the Blaze or some shit like that. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense to anybody?
I don't know. I think she's just really reactionary. I think she's very emotional, and I think she's like about half of the people that get degrees in psychology. She got the degree to figure out what the fuck was wrong with her instead of how to help other people.
See, man, all right, I got to qualify. All right, so I worked with psychologists and shit, and I went to school with, as psychology as a double major. Right, you are not wrong at all.
I grew up in UCSB, man.
Hey, man, I was working with a mentally ill population, and my fucking coworkers were crazier than them.
Yeah, so they're 100% a therapist, half therapist.
You have to, man. Yeah, you really have to keep your shit straight. I totally endorse that. Sorry, I interrupted, but that's nothing that true has ever been uttered on my channel. So I must concur.
So, yeah, okay. I'm glad I didn't offend you with that one because, like,
no, not at all, man. You're absolutely right, man. They're all fucking damaged. Go to any university psychology department. You will find 5 girls with daddy issues. You will fuck 3 of them and regret it. Just saying.
Yep.
And I'm talking about YouTuber, Tampa.
Right? I'm never going to psychology schools either. I'm scared. I'm scared of them places.
Yeah.
I got the privilege of growing up near UCSB. So UC Santa Barbara, which pumps out more psychologists than I think any other university in America.
Right on.
So there's lots of crazy bitches there. Lots of crazy bitches.
Yeah.
So,
Sisu, you must be rinsed.
Sisu, everybody is very confused. She's decided to say that the race ploy that they're using is really just about power, so you have to ignore the discussion on race. However, you can't, because they've made everything so personal. We have to discuss the whole box now. She's trying to kind of semantically divorce the idea of critical race theory from the inherent racism that is critical race theory.
Well, specifically, it's anti-white racism. Because
she has a real problem with white people being okay with being white. I don't know what that is.
Well, it's because people that are, hyper into their white identity, they like to focus on the anti-whiteness part, which should be no surprise. Like that, of course they are. That's
Wikipedia.
That's their biggest issue.
Wikipedia snippet says, doesn't the R stand for race at Suzuhaya? Is it crispy rice theory?
That sounds yummy.
Snap, crackle, pop. Bing. And there we go. God, I'm too silly today. I don't know why. But so apparently we exploited children last night, Timma.
What?
Yeah, I'll talk about that later. So.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just check the Cream Stream DM thing. I popped it in there. But
okay,
anyway,
I'll look at that in a bit.
all right, so are you ready to keep going?
Sure, I just wanted to point out the elephant in the room. She's retarded.
Yeah, well, I think she's really more emotional, and and she's not dumb, right?
I don't think she's dumb at all.
And she's very friendly and protective of the LGBT community.
Yeah,
and so, but she's not a lesbian, even though the haircut would make you think twice, which it did me. I'm sorry, I'm just calling like I saw it.
I was
You know?
really surprised to find out she had a husband. Honestly,
Right.
I'm very.
We're not kicking her though. She's yeah. She said good shit before, but
She's got comfortable shoes, and that's fine, guys.
backsliding. Backsliding.
Like Tim has a reason to be extra offended because you're just like, hey, you're saying a lot of good stuff. That's great. And then she posted something about gay pride parades and stuff, and all you said is like, I just draw the line. You said it in different words, but what you were trying to get across is clear. Don't showcase your sexual fetish in front of small children.
Right.
Yeah,
It's that
and
simple.
she blocked me.
And then whenever I called her out on it, she actually responded to me. She said, no, I'm not going to unblock her. She can apologize because she knows exactly why that was wrong. And I was like,
And then
I
she was
didn't
like,
realize-
she can send me an email. She wants me to unblock
yeah,
her.
I said, you apparently aren't against, showing off your sexual fetishes in front of young children. And that's ridiculous. So I didn't say unfollowed or anything. I just unfollowed her because it was like, I can't. Somebody that just doesn't get that, like, it's probably, and I know I'm getting really off topic, but that is probably one of the most harmful things happening with what is turned into pride.
I went on her social blade.
Is that,
Go ahead.
well, no, is that all of a sudden you had people that used to be, like, would have been on their side. Of course, we want gay people to be accepted and treated like everybody else. The idea was they showed up and they just said, hey, look, I'm just like you. It's just I do things in private that are things that you don't do, but that should be okay. Like, don't hate me because of what I do in private. And then they're going out in public being like, I'm going to wear a collar and a leather thong and a
assless
furry
chaps.
mask. Yeah. And I'm going to go to Disneyland in front of your children. And you have to like it or else you're a fucking anti-gay bigot.
I'm gonna deep throat a dildo.
I'm gonna put on a leather bondage suit and
Swallow flaming dildos.
Your kid has to
Like
like
a
it too.
Star performers.
I mean, the reason I'm against that is like all our gay friends like fucking gaming and yelling and Sir Adam and Dean, like they're all just like, yeah, we fucking hate that. That's the opposite of what we want.
Yeah, exactly, man. This is too dumb.
The whole point was you're trying to say, hey, we're just people that have different sexual tastes.
Well, in the 80s, there was AIDS and there was also the Christian right, which it was a lot of that stuff started out as a fucking troll, and it stayed. The trolls stayed, and we went less and less conservative as a country, and they stayed. So now it's the thing. Damn, I'm pissed.
I don't want the foot fetish people doing foot fetish parades just to get us to accept people with foot fetishes.
Hey, Virgie.
I will.
Virgie, our show got yeeted last night. I'll tell you about it later. Say it to Virgie. He was yeah. That's right. $2. He said, damn, I'm pissed. I missed a bunch of this. No, you didn't. You haven't missed anything, man. We're just getting going.
Yeah, we actually just went on a giant tangent. Should probably go on with this video.
See, right? And
But not only is it too simplistic, it is actually dangerous because I right now on my Twitter have actual, real white supremacists and racists thrilled with the idea of critical race theory being framed as anti-white. They are thrilled with this idea. And furthermore, you are giving the left and the woke exactly what they want. They are baiting you into this argument and you are falling for it because you're not thinking about the bigger picture. All right, so there are 3 reasons, probably more than that, but we're going to focus on 3 reasons that we should absolutely not under any circumstances be framing critical race theory as anti-white. The first reason is that it's not. That's not what it is. Critical race theory is not anti-white. Critical race theory is anti everyone that disagrees with critical race theory, whether you are black, brown, white, Asian, whatever, it does not matter. If you disagree with critical race theory, they are going to treat you as an enemy of the movement, and this is evidenced by an article that appeared in the Washington Post in January calling out multi-racial whiteness, which is essentially attacking any person that is not white that does not agree with them. This is not about race. This is only about keeping people divided and at each other's throats, because using race is an easy way to spin people up and get them upset, and then you have a clear enemy. Either you're racist or you're not.
Yeah,
that is what this is about, and they're doing it for the purposes of destabilizing our systems and our society so that they can come in and build their little Maoist utopia. That's what they're doing. And every single time that you frame this as being anti-white, you are playing right into their hand, which is point number 2. You are playing directly into their hands. They want you to be racist. They want you to be running around like Marjorie Taylor Greene, trying to establish a commission or a committee to protect Anglo-Saxon values. I'm sorry, do you know what I am not going to fight for in my state house? I am not going to fight for pro-white legislation. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, we just heard, 3 logical fallacies in one breath there, Excel? Because first, she's ignoring the entire elephant in the room that she's literally saying white people can't like their skin color.
Or appreciate their heritage.
Yeah,
and
that
and
one
have
kind of
something
gets
to
me.
say about it.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of gets me. I don't get that. Now, what was the one you were talking about?
False choice. Right. So a lot of what she said was true, except for where she says it's not about race or it's not about, right. Like really what she should have said, it is anti-white. It is about race, and it is doing these things to divide people around these things because it's easy. Right. Like that would be the true statement. But she's thinking that because if we actually frame this as anti-white, some people will use this as fuel to promote their white identity, and she disagrees with that, like people being white identitarians, that we should deny it's the fact that it is a racial, like critical race, it has race in the name, is about race, and it is anti-white. And what this actually does is this is going to create the reactionary effect that it will do what she says, which is going to allow people that are following people like Karlyn, or like James Lindsay had a pretty decent response, and I think he only had one. I forgot what it was, but he's like, it's true, right? There are some people. The most important thing is to just focus on the truth, right?
Yeah.
And she's kind of going out of her way to take these properties of critical race theory that we all obviously observe and say they don't exist. Like that's going to actually have the opposite effect of what she thinks it is. It's not going to stop people from seeing how it's anti-white and then trying to congregate around a white identity. It's going to make people not listen to people like her that are saying there's all these other problems with critical race theory. It's not just about being anti-white, which is what she should say, right? It's not just anti-white. It's anti a lot of things. It is anti-white, but there's other things too. Let me explain this to you so that you are well equipped to understand what the problem is, and then you can understand what some of the solution is.
Yeah.
It's going to get those people to back down because they're going to feel it, especially, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but especially like white men, right? A lot of them are feeling that effect in their actual lives, like through their workplace, through trying to find jobs. Like they're actually seeing this affect them in reality. And to get them off the cliff of being like, I'm being oppressed because I'm white, to get them off that cliff, even though it might be like true and there's other things, to get them to not focus on the white aspect. You need to acknowledge that, yes, it is anti-white, and there's other things going on here too. And what we should be striving for is what James Lindsay calls universal liberalism.
You know what's funny is that her face is so animated. No matter where we stop it, it's a great picture. But you're absolutely right.
Hey, what's up, Object Fate?
Object, hey man, what's up? Yeah, I see some new people. Nobody, not me. Welcome. It's good to see you. Yeah, everybody. All right, so Trippy's better. He is conscious, and he ate this morning. So he's getting better.
Yeah.
But his face is messed up. So I don't want to go into any details. But he's definitely going to have a hospital bill. That's so.
Well,
please,
there's going to be aftercare, and that's the shit that's going to be really expensive. Is
throw
the
him some
recovery
cash.
shit.
Throw him some cash. Throw him some cash,
So-
people. Love it. Love people. Love each other. Life is short.
Rudy was just putting money into his Streamlabs, right?
Yes. That's what I put his Streamlabs link in there. I'll put it in again.
She keeps saying she's a woman, Toya, but she's not a woman. She's a little girl.
Who is?
She's Karlyn.
Oh.
Karlyn Poroshenko. She's not a woman. This is not a woman's behavior. This isn't how women act when they come across something they don't understand or something that makes them alarmed.
Well,
This is how little girls do this.
All right, so she has a doctorate, A, and B, she has been working for corporations for years, like training, like anti-sexist, anti-gay, not anti-gay, but anti-homophobic, what she would call type, seminars in the human resource department at corporations. So, and that's what her day job was, and then the coup happened, and that kind of squelched that shit a little bit for her. And at that point, she started this whole deal with, she went to a Trump rally as a leftist, and everybody was nice to her, and then she automatically said, "Well, fuck, Trump people aren't that bad. Fuck it, I'm going to vote for Trump." And now we're here.
Yeah, she had kind of like the Adam cast, right, from the Tinfoil podcast, come to Jesus moment of being like, not only is Trump not that bad, but I actually agree with him on a lot of stuff. So she became a Trump supporter, which is great. It's fine. I love people changing their mind. What we're seeing here is this leftist tendency, and actually, it just came to my mind. One of the other ironies is that she's sitting here pretending like she's going to get any, the left is going to give her any benefit for trying to disassociate herself with, people like the Groypers. They won't.
No, not at all. No, she's
they're not going to help. They're not going to be like, "Oh, you're doing a great thing by doing that." They're going to be like, "Nope, you still have an idea that's in common with these people that I don't like, so we're just going to lump you in with them." It's not doing her any favors at all.
Well, she better quit drinking wine because that was Hitler's favorite after dinner drink, right? Are you fucking serious? It's obvious, dude. They've used the term of white not just as a euphemism for power that they dislike, but for a group of people. And they use it on a daily basis. And she's saying that isn't existing because she wants to make sure it's an inclusive hate that everybody feels. But that doesn't change the fact that it's still fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
And all she's doing is actually giving fuel to the obvious CIA operative. He bragged about working for Bush Jr.
Sorry, I'm laughing. No, but
he
you're right.
bragged about working in Bush Jr.'s office. I'm like, how much more do you fucking need? The guy looks like Nathan Domago. He's the same color as his t-shirt. He's that fucking white. He's got that weird, his face looks like it's part animal, not human. You know what I'm saying? Right. He just screams glow in the dark. You're like, oh, yeah, right. This guy isn't a plant.
Yeah. I mean, and the explanation for why she's seen more of it is because, even outside of being glow in the dark, the more of a reaction she gives these people, the more likely they are to continue to be on her Twitter. Like they've
Well, and
always
the
existed.
Groypers-
She feels like they came out. Like she's pretending that these came out of a vacuum and like, oh shit, this is being created by the anti-CRT movement. It's giving them credit. It's like, no, we've already dealt with this. We dealt with this years ago, Karlyn.
These
Like you're
are the same guys from 10
on
years
board
ago.
late. Yeah, they're the same people. We know that they exist, and we just ignore them now.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're freaking out because all 21,000 of them have gathered together and they have this one guy's channel and they all go to his shit. And she's freaking out. She actually calls for like, okay. Anyway, I'm going to leave all that out because she also called for deplatforming.
Yeah,
We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, ready?
I'm not going to do it. Do you know what is not going to wake people up to what is going on? If we start producing a lot of pro-white content because we're fighting an anti-white ideology, that is not going to work. It is not going to get anyone on our side. It is like the fact that people think that this is the best way to frame this. This is an absolute abject failure of the intellectuals that have been intellectualizing about this phenomenon for years before I ever even knew what was going on. And listen, man, I'll take some responsibility for myself because I haven't done a very good job of explaining what this is and why it has nothing to do with race. I'm currently working on a book about it. That book's not going to be out till next March. And like, to be quite frank, I could have done more, and I'll own that. But you know who else could have done more? The goddamn intellectuals who are just trying to impress each other with their intellectualization for years, and then that intellectualization goes through the conservative media who don't really understand what they're talking about, and then it gets to the average person. And somewhere in this game of telephone, what has happened is the average person is starting to understand.
What conservative media? What is she fucking talking about? Just
Okay, now
Fox
she's
News?
absolutely dead wrong about the conservative media not knowing what CRT is. Because conservative media has been discussing critical race theory since it was called critical theory, since it was called, what was it called before that? Cultural Marxism. That's right. Okay, so you already, again, she is throwing out another logical fallacy saying that the right just doesn't know what they're talking about when she hasn't bothered to actually talk to anybody on the right and see what they know.
He also doesn't understand the actual history of this, both in true popular culture, which would be the media, right? Where in your average people, and then the internet. Like the internet is where you're going to see the worst of everybody.
Or think about it. All right, so if she does talk to an actual, like, white supremacist or something, then she's giving them a platform. And that's against the rules of the religion, right?
Yeah. Because this is a fallacy I've talked about a billion times.
And what's it called?
Well, God, like I don't even know if there's a formal fallacy, but if I would call it, it would be everybody that is a white identitarian is a terrible person fallacy. Like, because it's just not true. It's not like. Just think of all the things that people advocate for, right? Like people that want to put a gun to my head and force me to get a vaccine, right? That's a very popular movement, mandatory vaccination, right? Those people, like, why am I supposed to consider those people less bad than people that just have an idea on race and who they want to associate with me? Like, because a lot of these people that are like Groypers or white nationalists, they're not sitting there being like, we need to round up all the blacks and ship them out of the country, right? Like, of course I'm against that. A lot of them were just like, we want to go fuck off somewhere and just be with other white people because we have this idea that that's better for us. That person's doing less harm to me than the person that is literally advocating for the government to put a gun to my head to make sure I get a vaccine.
See, I call those people white separatists.
Yeah, but she's not even figuring out what she's dealing with here.
Right,
in her
exactly.
mind, it's all just white supremacy. She's gone back to this like infantile, like reactionary thing that a leftist would do.
Yeah, that's what I was calling out earlier, is that like it's a very leftist thing to want to be upset whenever somebody that you're supposed to dislike because they have bad ideas agrees with you on something. Even if it's just a partial point, right? Where CRT is anti-white, which it is, right? And she's trying to back out of CRT being anti-white because it's more complicated. Of course, it's more complicated than that. We talk about that all the time on the stream, but it's still anti-white and other things. And it is more beneficial to be like, it's anti-white and other things than it is to try to do what she's doing or deny it's anti-white. Like, that's only going to drive more people away from listening to the people that actually understand all the fallacies of critical race theory by denying something that is obvious to everybody.
Yeah.
It's like the emperor's
Instead of
clothes.
just-
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Okay, y'all ready to roll? Oh shit! All right, I'm gonna. Apparently, my Discord has just crashed, and that usually means, yep, crashed. I've got to reboot my Discord while we're doing that. Just talked to some people in the in the chat. Jack Gunsky, hey man, what's happening? Object, hey, we said hey earlier. Let's see. Let's roll this motherfucker. Lazazo 7. It's good to see you again. Slappy, get right. All right, and I'm out. And then I'm back in. Here I am. All right. I got booted. My Discord went tits up again. I thought it had something to do. I thought it had something to do with VLC, but I don't think so, man. Because I quit doing what I thought was making it do that on. Anyway. All right. So y'all ready to roll? All right.
Yeah, I was going to point out, because even Jack was pointing it out as well. She's getting very condescending in her tone.
Yeah, exactly. Becomes very prominent. Hey, Becca.
Understand that critical race theory is just anti-white, which is not the truth. And don't tell me, because here's the comment I'm gonna get. They're gonna say, Karlyn, you know, real life doesn't happen on Twitter. Don't look at Twitter. I was at an event last night. I was at an in-person event, small little in-person event last night in New Hampshire, where I heard the same
And there was
damn
one guy.
thing. And I told that person the same thing that I'm telling to you. You have got to stop framing this as an anti-white argument. You are not going to get people on your team with an anti-white argument. And in addition to that, it's not even the truth. It's not even the truth. I'll go back to point number 1, because I'm doing this without a script. I'm doing this just off the top of my head. I'll go back to point number 1. It's not even the truth. If we want to talk about what multiracial whiteness is to them, we can also talk about the fact that critical race theory is incredibly racist. Not just against people who look like me. It is incredibly racist against black and brown people. It is incredibly racist against Asian people. We could talk about the fact that critical race theorists don't believe that black people are capable of going to the DMV and getting a driver's license. We could talk about the fact that they don't believe that black people are capable of hard work or showing up on time, who need to be coddled at every corner. We could talk about the fact that they're literally applying different college admission standards to Asian Americans, making it more difficult to get them to get into college when they're applying easier standards to everyone else, including white people. That is an actual example of systemic racism. Critical race theory is not just racist against white people. It is racist against everyone. It is racist against everyone.
She just admitted it was anti-white.
Framing it as anti-white
Yeah.
is exactly what they want you to do.
But hold on.
Exactly what they want you to
For
do.
a second.
Because then they can point and go,
She's conflating the Civil Rights Act with critical race theory right there as well.
Well, not to mention that, but she's like, I kind of agree. Framing critical race theory as anti-white, that's something we've never done, right? I don't think we've ever, like, we don't deny it's anti-white, but we don't frame it as that's the problem. Like, it's a much bigger problem than that.
No.
So in that case, it's true that what she's saying, but she's going back and forth here, where she's like, she's saying it's not anti-white, but then she's like, it's anti-white, anti-Asian, anti-black, like, which is all true. And I actually would agree with her that framing it as something that is like only anti-white, like that's the only property of it, is incorrect. That is false. But
However,
it is not true to say that it is not anti-white as one of its properties.
okay, but there's also the big elephant in the room. Because the average everyday person that listens to any kind of critical race theory is going to go, wait a minute, this is anti-white. Because they're using the word white to replace everything they don't like.
Which is intentional. Like, that's
Yeah.
why it's so bad to actually... It is actually a really bad representation of critical race theory if you're going to try to explain away their focus on whiteness. When whiteness studies is a course that is part of the critical race curriculum.
Yeah.
Like, I understand how they define whiteness in a way where it's whatever it wants it to be if it's suited. I talked about that earlier, right? Whiteness is about an individual's skin color when they're talking about white individuals, and whiteness, like, as far as a whole, is like this more abstract thing that is not necessarily about skin color.
Mm-hmm.
But they intentionally equate the abstraction with skin color. There's no other reason you would do that, right? You would call it something else if you didn't want to associate it with race.
Well, and I don't like the fact that she's telling people that are white they can't like who they are and where they come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she keeps doing that repeatedly.
You
If
can't
have
be
any
proud
kind
you're
of-
part of Team Viking. Just saying that.
Right? You can't have any European pride.
Yeah, like, it's not an inherent problem for anybody to have that, devotion to your ancestry. Like, I mean, that's kind of a cultural thing that's existed in a lot of cultures. It's only inherently a problem if you're using that to be exclusive of other people that do not share that.
Exclusivity? Okay.
Yeah, I just mean, like, what I mean is, like,
I'm fucking with you.
That's a
like, you wanna-
fancy
Yeah.
word there, man.
well, it's like you want to kick out from your society everybody that isn't part of your ancestry.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
But
Yeah,
that's
it's one thing to be
stupid.
like, I like being Italian, right? Like, I love my Italian heritage and the culture that was bestowed on me, and I will exist with other people that have other cultures that they might be proud of and like. It's totally fine. The only time it becomes a problem is if you're just like, I only want these people with this certain cultural background living in my society. And that's actually by itself not a problem. It's I'm living in a society that has people from other cultural backgrounds, and I don't like them and want to kick them out. That is the only time it's a problem.
Well, I just don't like the weird exclusivity she has. Because it's almost like she's saying it can't be anti-white because she's anti-white and she's anti-CRT, so the two can't be the same with the way she's talking.
It does come across that way.
Yeah, there's a little echo coming.
Oh, I wonder if that's my headphones. Maybe I have too much metal. Does that fix it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Sorry. I
Sweet.
put my canister in the wrong place.
Okay, so we moving on.
Oh, look at those racists. We told you they were racist. You've got to stop taking the bait with this shit. I understand that it is an easier definition to understand. I get
Funny,
it.
she's the one
you know
taking
what? You know
the
what
bait,
someone
but-
said to me on Twitter today? It's like, Karlyn, you're just saying this because you haven't defined critical race theory. If you are looking for a definition of critical race theory, I literally did a video on it yesterday. It is literally pinned to the top of my Twitter feed right now. Here is the definition of critical race theory. Critical race theory is an ideology that started in academia in the 1970s that says racism exists everywhere in every person, in every interaction, in every institution, and the job of the critical race theorist is to suss out how, not if, how racism occurred in every circumstance because racism is always assumed to have occurred. That is the very basis of systemic racism. Did you hear me say anti-white? No. No. You did not. What I said was racism.
It doesn't even have the
And
definition,
racism
right?
can be directed at any group. It can be directed at white people. It can be directed at black people. It can be directed at Asian people. It can be directed at Hispanic and Latino people. It can be directed at anyone. It would never even occur to me to use anti-white in my definition. You want to know why? That brings us to point number 3. This is actually a dangerous approach. And this is one of the things I've talked about on an ongoing basis for months now. I've seen this being spun up for months. I am actually afraid that the fight against critical race theory is going to form an actual, real white power movement in this country. Listen, the KKK has like a couple thousand people. There is not a real white power movement in this country, but there will be if you keep this up. You want to know why? Because life is about balance. Human beings have an incredible way of balancing things out. When the pendulum swings too far in one direction, it can swing right back in the other direction. And what I have always been worried about is the fight against critical race theory is actually going to manifest a white power movement in this country, which is exactly what the left wants. That's what they want.
Yeah.
They are not fighting racism.
She's got this
racism
so
is their
backwards.
god. If they they ever defeated racism, they would have nothing else to do. They are only interested in perpetuating it. And when you are coming along and saying critical race theory is an anti-white ideology, you are only playing into their hands and doing exactly what they want you to do. And that type of talk is going to create an actual white power movement in this country. Is that what you want? It's not what I want.
No, actually,
Not what I want in any way, shape, or form.
Deriding white people like
I didn't sign up to fight against this because I thought this was anti-white. I signed up to fight against this because it's
incredibly backwards.
It is incredibly racist. It only seeks to keep human beings down. It only seeks to keep human beings under the thumb of the people who are using it to keep themselves in power while they keep us fighting each other. That is the only reason I signed up to do this. You might have different motives, and who knows, maybe some of you would be perfectly okay if an actual white power movement started in this country, but I am not. You've got to stop. You've got to stop. You make this choice. No one makes it for you. And if you are committed to having the easiest possible explanation for something that is actually far more complex and nuanced, even when people like me are delivering you a definition on a silver goddamn platter, a definition that works, a definition that's been tested in the real world, then that is on you. Then you are not a serious person. I'm sorry. I am on if you are using the critical race theory is anti-white as an argument, you and I are not on the same team. I am not going to fight for you. I'm not going to have your back. I'm going to tell you to cut that shit out. Because it is completely, not only is it completely unnecessary, it is also wrong, and it is also dangerous. So many people in this game are just grifting on this idea to make money. I happen to not be one of them. If you don't want to support me, then don't. Don't watch my videos.
Whoa! If you spot it, you got it, honey.
Don't join my locals. Don't do any of those things. I don't really care, but I'm not going to go run around and spin up a bunch of conservatives who aren't paying close enough attention by saying, critical race theory is anti-white. That's what these goddamn conservative influencers are doing. That's what they're doing
so pause
right
for a
now.
second.
Critical race theory is not anti-white. Critical race theory is anti-
It's almost over.
Yeah.
She just conflated normal conservatives and the white identitarians she was dealing with earlier.
That goes back.
It's not me then. I don't know. Hold on, let me check my.
Whenever I was actually looking, irate, I hate to be one of those people. So my cans were lighting up a little bit when you talked. But while things were going live, I was actually hearing the sound, and your cans were lighting up. So just pay attention to it. See if we can fix it that way. I was hearing it a little bit through your cans. It was very subtle, but I could hear it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, God, everything Karlyn's saying right here is the biggest thing she doesn't understand is the timeline of things, right? So these groups that are white identitarian movements or whatever, they probably grew as much as they could in 2015. And most of those people fell off the cliff because smarter people like James Lindsay and whatnot came in, explained it, and they went back to being like, okay, I'm not, this isn't about being white or black, right? Or any skin color. Like the vast majority of people decided, hey, I don't need to focus on my white identity. We don't need to organize as whites. We need to organize people all along American ideas, right? And that kind of was reflected in the MAGA movement and whatnot. I think part of this is she's just late to the party, and she just found these people. Like they've been around for fucking ever.
I also
Right.
think she's undereducated in just exactly how far-reaching CRT is within the culture war and how long this has actually been going on. Because if you've been paying attention, there has been an attack on white Americans in America, especially if they're conservative, but focused on white Americans, and it's been said a lot since Obama took office.
Like the acceleration in people noticing CRT is insane. Because when we first started this stream with Emma, that was before Donald Trump even called it by name. And I think Donald Trump calling it by name was the first time that it became a word in the public discourse.
Yeah, I know the first time we had heard it in public on a major show was Chris Rufo, and that was shortly before Trump said it.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, like he dropped a nuke, right? He called the beast out by name, and they did not like it because the way it was operating for the longest time was under it obscured itself with like Mon Bailey tactics, which is where you read articles where it's just another way to properly analyze the relationship between American power structures and
just to create a healthy workplace.
Negatively impacts minorities or something like that. They always have like some convoluted definition that they try to ascribe to it. Whenever you actually look at it, like that is we did a whole stream on the Mott and Bailey, right? So that's like they're in the Mott, right? That's the high point, like where everybody's like, yeah, we shouldn't have, oppression of people in the workplace. And then you look at the Bailey and they're like, well, actually what we're really trying to do is make sure that regardless of merit, everybody is equally represented in this workplace. And by equally represented, we just mean that an equal number of people of different skin colors are represented that also agree with CRT. Right. And then they always retreat back to the Mott and say, oh, no, this is just about equality and being against racism.
Yeah.
Things that everybody agrees about.
Everybody wants equity, don't they?
No.
Oh, no, you're right. Not everybody wants that. Most rational people do.
Yeah, equity.
Well, we don't want, like, nobody here is sitting here like, I want every black man or black woman or whatever woman, like, I don't know. Maybe you're a post-trans, transracial, half Asian, half black person. If you're qualified for a job, I want you to be equally considered as anybody else. Nobody's arguing against that.
All right. Fuck the world nil. My man over here says that's why I said I've seen the exact theory acted out my whole life. So-called it the second I seen it. It's something that is taught in many black homes. They just don't call it by name.
Yeah, they do it in the Hispanic homes in California. You're always taught that the white kids, if you didn't have at least one Hispanic person in your household, you probably were a rich asshole and you need to be avoided.
Hey, Quake Sticks, I see you there, man. You still flying the commie flag? All right, let's keep rolling. He's cool, man.
Yeah. I was just No, I get it. The same thing when you live, and we were the minority.
You remember
here,
Communist in
so-
Space? That's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, Kami. Been a while.
Scottish. He's not
Yeah.
crap. All right, let's finish this out.
Everyone who disagrees with it. That is what it is. And every single time you frame it as being an anti-white ideology or phenomenon, you are only hurting those of us who are actually seriously trying to end this. I have never wanted to give up so much as I have today. I'll tell you what, my feed on Twitter is literally filled with actual white supremacists who are overjoyed that people are saying that critical race theory is anti-white. They just found
It really
their
is
new
just
recruiting
new to the
pool.
internet.
Congratulations. This is what happens. And the
Yeah.
left is to blame for this because they started this. The left was so intent on seeing racism in everything that they are literally manifesting a goddamn white power movement. But it wouldn't be possible if the right wasn't playing into it. You have to make the choice to stop
They're
playing
not.
into it, to behave responsibly, to look at what is actually going on, and to take a more nuanced approach. Critical race theory does not just hurt white people. Critical race theory hurts everyone. It hurts human relationships. It hurts
Ding.
psychological safety. It causes unearned shame and guilt on everyone. It teaches young black children that they're going to be victims of the world and they'll never get ahead and they'll never be successful. I don't want young black children learning that. That's incredibly racist. That is only going to keep them down. That is only going to set them up to achieve nothing in life because they won't be able to see success as a possibility. This is not about it being anti-white. And anyone who is saying it is needs to stop right now. And if you want to bring that crap onto
damn
my
it.
channel or into my
She
feed,
says something
I'm sorry,
I agree
I'm gonna
with,
block
and
you.
then she
There's
says
not going to be any
something
warning.
that's
There's just
dumb.
going to be a block because
And
I'm
she
not doing.
backs it up with something completely, yeah. It's so frustrating. It's like, okay, you can have the truth without the stupid. Can we just have the truth? Please? We don't need your goddamn retarded interjection that has no usefulness and actually detracts from what you're really saying. Just say the thing and then shut the fuck up. Just say the thing. God damn. Yeah,
Indeed.
I know. I'll slap her with my flip-flop.
Wing it. I will
Shows
not.
back. It's
This is
anti-white
hard enough
and other
as it
things.
is,
It's not that hard.
without having to manage people that are actually creating a
And she's
fucking
saying
white
it's
power
hard.
movement.
It's not hard.
And again, if you are not doing this, that was not directed at you. So I don't want to, Karlyn, not everyone's doing it. I don't care. I don't care. Enough people are doing it. I have hundreds of people in my feed right now doing it. And
I'm
you
not
need
doing that,
to
but I
stop.
also am not
You
going to
need
sit there and argue
stop
with the white
and
power
think
people
about what you're
that
doing and think
critical
about the
race
bigger
theory is
picture.
anti-white.
I'm not fighting for that bullshit.
I'll
I'll tell
agree
you
with
right
him and
now.
then
I'm
argue
not doing
why I
it.
disagree with
That's
the
all
white
I
power
have.
movement.
Cut out the bullshit. I'll be back soon.
Oh, yes, mommy. What the fuck? All right, that's the end of that video. All right, I'll tee up this other one.
Up, we have Patrick with his very professional looking setup, much more professional than me.
All right,
It's
y'all
the
want
glow in
to?
the dark guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
no.
No,
No,
this
this
is
isn't
nothing.
the Golden Dark Guy. This is Patrick. Patrick is actually,
You
when
mean
you hear
a
him
Groyper?
talk, he may sound familiar to you. He is a Groyper. He's a fairly popular Groyper that you've probably heard in sound clips in other places.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't pay attention to that section of YouTube, but I just want to say when it comes to the Groypers, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's like, why am I supposed to hate these people that they're not really wishing ill will on people that aren't their same race? They want to go fuck off and be their own white country or something, right? Like I don't hate these people. I have no reason to hate these people. I disagree with them on the premise because it goes back to Jared Taylor saying like, well, I guess Thomas Sowell's white. I was like, I would prefer people to be, if I could choose my community, right, in my country, I would choose people that agree with me on most things, right? I won't care what race they are. If they happen to be 90% white, great. But I mean that it's inconsequential to me.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Okay, so
Hey,
Patrick is okay. This is going to be. We're probably going to watch this, and then we're probably going to break it down afterwards because it's not a particularly long clip. I found the shorter clips so we could watch them and then discuss them because.
All right.
And there's one of them. I think it's the one after this, the kid with the cowboy hat. I don't know if I linked that one.
I've got it.
That
Hello,
one
Patrick.
we're going to have to walk through because this one it's going to be easy to see how she really disingenuously debates this with him, because she never answers the questions that he asks. You'll see. And we can talk about the way she does it wrong. But with the other young man, that's where she really, really, really fucks up. And that's the one that I really wanted to like stop and point out every time she fucked up, because it was like one after another. She was just, everything was done the wrong way. I don't know how else to describe it. But
Okay. All right, let's roll on this one then.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I had a few questions for you. The first one is, I hear you throw around the term white supremacist
Ooh, we
quite
got a
often.
troll. We got a troll. Excellent. I'm going to have this
Okay,
conversation
so
with you,
I know that you're new to all of this, but troll refers to someone who's coming in bad faith and
I'm
just messing
so
with you. All of the questions
excited
that I'm
that we
going to
got a
ask
white
you are in
a
good
troll. This is a
faith. So
fantastic.
you use the term white supremacist, racist quite often. What are you referring to when you say someone is a...
I want to point out one thing, y'all. Okay, right before all this happened, she had been on, God, what is her name? The really, really attractive African American chick, and she was in this this really, really, it was like a horrible debate, and I can't remember her channel come to mind, but and it was like they were just fucking with her beforehand, and then she reacted like this, and then left before it was over. So, and I think that's what set it all off. Yeah.
White supremacist. What does that mean?
I knew you were going to do this. I knew it. I saw your setup, and I was like, this is going to be the guy that is the troll.
I'm just asking you to define a term that you're using quite often, because I see the
Actually
left
a
throw
valid
that term
question.
against conservatives quite often, and I see someone who supported Pete Buttigieg in 2019 coming onto the right a little late, throwing that same term around to attack people who have been pushing back against critical race theory for a little longer than you.
Did you
So my
happen
question
to
is, what
read
is
the
a white supremacist?
article?
Can you define what that means?
Can I answer your question, or are you going to just come on?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm allowing you to stay here right now, and I'm willing to have a conversation.
Answer the question. Let's hear it.
If you keep interrupting me, I'm going to boot you off the stream. So if you want me to answer the question, you're going to be polite.
I'm all ears. I am all ears.
Did you happen to see the viral article that I wrote in February 2020 where I said I voted for Pete Buttigieg? Was this a great shock that I voted for Pete Buttigieg?
I am aware that you have talked about it, that it's not a secret. But my question was, what are you defining as a white supremacist?
What I'm defining as a white supremacist is anyone that focuses on the well-being, or white positivity, or whatever the hell you guys are calling it now, of the white race to the detriment of everyone else. I do not believe in focusing on anyone in regards to their race, whether you're white, black, brown, Asian, I don't care. I want to focus on people as individuals. And when I'm hearing about a white well-being or white positivity movement with people who are only talking about how you can only have sympathy for people with skin that looks like ours, and that you shouldn't have sympathy for anyone whose skin does not look like ours, I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Okay, well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that really characterizes my perspective, but the issue that I see is that the left has basically said that every race gets to have a sense of identity except for white people, or in the sense, a positive sense of identity, right?
I'm not on the left.
About white identity, you can exist, you can have a white identity, but it has to be negative.
I'm not on the left. I'm not on the left. I know you guys are saying that I am, but I am in
I'm not
real
saying
life.
you're on the left. I
I'm not on the
understand
left.
that you're very socially liberal, but you consider yourself on the right. But my question is, do you think that white people have the moral right to have a positive sense of identity that is in no way negative towards other groups?
I think that every individual has a right to have a positive sense of individual identity, and I think every individual should have a positive sense of individual identity.
Of individual identity, not group identity, though. So you don't think a black person has the right to have a positive black identity?
I think that every single person has the right to an individual positive identity. I think every single person should feel good about themselves, and I genuinely hope that people find a lot of reasons to feel good about themselves that has absolutely nothing to do with how they look.
Do you think it is morally wrong for a black person to have a sense of black identity?
I don't think anything is morally wrong. Honestly,
you don't think anything is morally wrong?
Nope.
So you're a total moral relativist. But you just said that these people that talk about white positivity and white well-being, you don't think there's anything morally wrong with that?
I think those people are dangerous, and history has shown us the danger of those movements, and I think that they are dangerous to
So you do think there's something morally wrong with that?
Hey, Patrick, we're not interrupting me now. I think that those people are dangerous, and we've seen the danger of these movements in the past, and quite frankly, I don't want to support that type of movement in this country. Absolutely not. No, I think it's dangerous.
Okay, so you just said you don't think anything is morally wrong, but then you just provided a specific example of something that you think is morally wrong.
The way I view the world, I don't think there is necessarily right or wrong. I think everything has multiple perspectives. I know for the type of experience I want to create for my life and the type of values I would like this country to have, I do not believe that a white identitarian movement is a positive move for the country. I do not think it's a good thing. I will not support it. If you want to be a part of it, that's your choice.
Because
we all have to make our own decisions.
And owning her.
Yeah, like Patrick is like completely destroying her. She's contradicting herself left and right.
And he's not even trying, dude.
Yeah, he's just asking why. Like, I actually have answers to his questions that will destroy his argument. Like, I can do that. I can beat this guy, which is, well, this is why it's true. Like, I think she's just new because Patrick is one of those Groyper people, right? And they've existed for a long time. Like, we've known they existed. Like, it's not new. It's not coming out of anti-CRT. All that happened is we got smarter people to debunk CRT, and a lot of these people that were already against it are adapting their arguments. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with these people that are adopting your arguments on everything. You can totally disagree. Like, I can easily destroy this Patrick person.
There's nothing morally wrong with it.
I think we all live different lives. You are here for a different purpose than I am. We all come here with a different purpose. We all come here with a different thing we're supposed to do, with different lessons that we're supposed to learn. That's what I believe anyway. And your lessons or your experience in this life could very well be part of this white identitarian movement, and that's your choice. But am I going to sit back and just like, okay, white identitarians take over the country? Fuck no, because I don't want that experience in this country. You get one more question. You get one more question.
Is the fact that you're married to an illegal immigrant, do you think that maybe colors your perspective on all of this?
Well, it's not illegal. We had 2 interviews with ICE and they blessed him. So is that your
wasn't
question?
he illegal at one point in time?
Yeah, well, he was not. He was out of status, yeah. And then he was put back, and then he was.
These are the type of people who are worming their way into conservatism, trying to establish themselves as
not a conservative.
They weren't here in 2016. They weren't here in.
But okay.
Bing. I told him to get one more question, and now Patrick gets banned. I feel like I was the paragon of virtue in that discussion. I have to say. Okay, so to clarify for.
No, you are.
She sounds like a 14-year-old to me. I'm just saying.
For people in the chat that don't know, my husband came to this country legally. He overstayed his visa. We met. We fell in love. I wanted to marry him on our second date. He got picked up and was going to be deported, and I said, well, time for a marriage. If it was just for the green card, he could have divorced me 6 years ago. We will be together 10 years in November. I love him very much. He is my soulmate. And ain't no bitch gonna call for his deportation on Twitter without me having something to say about it. All right.
On Patrick's part, the whole thing about the immigration status of her husband was a non sequitur. Like, it had nothing to do with anything.
It was a dig.
But whenever he asked, like, define white supremacy, like, it was a legitimate question.
Yes.
It really is, because we see it thrown around so much. Because according to actual critical race theorists, white supremacy is anybody that wants to uphold the current liberal order of Western civilization, right? Like, if you are against the changes that critical race theory suggest, even though they're not very well defined, right? It's just disrupt and dismantle the liberal order. Then you're a white supremacist. Like, he was just asking, because I know what they're coming from the Groyper review, which Karlyn she's new to the game, doesn't understand it. Like, none of these people are advocating like rounding up black people, recreating slavery or anything stupid like that. What they're doing is saying, like, I think ethnicity is a good thing to build a country around, and that we should do that, right? That's what the Groypers are doing. Like, they call themselves like white majorities because they think that because of the skin color, we share a lot of common views. And my easy response to it is what I said earlier.
Okay.
Hey, how many, like, what are most of your enemies that disagree with you? Oh, they're all white liberals, right? Okay, so apparently breaking things down based on race is not going to get you where you want.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you want to roll with this one and tell me when to stop, Timmy?
Okay, yeah, because this one is amazing.
Free market, free love. How are you?
Just issue-loving and retardation. This.
Yeah, free market, free love. So yeah, you're saying this is the glow in the dark, dude? I'd definitely buy that.
No, this kid is not. Well, he might be a bit compromised because he's obviously somebody who was put into a situation he
He
shouldn't have been
talks
put
like a
into.
45-year-old man, and he says he's in his
He's
20s.
22. He's 22. When he takes off the hat, he looks really young.
How's it going?
Right.
Good.
But
Hey, I just want to call in and give my input on my experience with critical race theory in college.
Okay.
And if you look behind me, you'll see portraits of all my ancestors going back over 150 years. My family came from Spain, and they've been in what is now America since the mid-1500s. And I'm very proud of where I came from and all the people who got me to where I am here today. But when I was in college, I was told that all my ancestors were evil. They were colonizers, they were oppressors, and I was told that my ancestors had a unique guilt, and the stain of racism is upon me. And I just wanted to say to you, my generation, I'm 22 years old, and there truly is a visceral feeling of being targeted because we are white. And I just want you to know from my experience that it is a very palpable feeling. And I think you're turning a lot of people off by coming out so strongly against it, even though, I know you had a troll call in and press you on your moral stance or amoral stance. I just want to say this. You've had a lot of trolls call in, and there isn't a block button in real life. And I know many men in my generation are pro-white, and there is definitely a backlash coming to this anti-white agenda. So how will you react when you are speaking in person? And we are everywhere. We are numerous. What will you do when we hound you?
Well, the first thing I would say is that you're making threats to me on the internet with your face fully visible, and that might not be the smartest thing you've ever done.
Okay.
But I will say that
first thing she did was try to take control of the situation. Now,
Started-
this
she
is a
threatened him.
psychology trick. She just threatened him, didn't
She
she?
threatened him, saying he threatened her.
When he was saying, what are you going to do when there's a whole lot of people like me out there and we aren't going to let up anymore? And she said, how dare you try to threaten me on the internet? So already, step one.
Well, and her appeal to like real journalists, several times she kept, would a real fucking journalist just call me? God damn it. Okay, so yeah, it sounds a whole lot like Tilly Law in the server that a certain German YouTuber had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but we won't talk about that because that was 4 years ago, and nobody brings up the past around here on YouTube.
Regardless of whether this guy is a glow in the dark, he's exemplifying exactly what I said earlier about how he sees this and he sees this as anti-white, and he sees the fact that it is anti-white as a reason to congregate around whiteness, right? And that part is implied, right? That he thinks that he should congregate amongst whiteness, but based on what he said, I think we can reasonably infer that. But the way to diffuse him of being like, we need to congregate on whiteness is not to sit there and lie to him and say, it's not actually anti-white. When it is. It's to acknowledge it's anti-white, but then explain its other things, and the way forward is different. And she does actually go on to explain how the way forward is not about identitarian movements, but she still insists that we have to deny that CRT is anti-white when it is.
Right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I sped it up too fast.
Yes, listen, the first thing I want to say is I completely understand that white men are being targeted and that a lot of shit is coming down on you guys. And I really don't want you to think that I'm not unaware of it, and I think it's awful. And I'm doing everything I can in my power to try to change this. I spend all of my hours trying to fight back against this because I don't think it's correct. And the thing of it is that I want you to know too, I have been defending men in the workplace against false accusations of sexual harassment. I've been defending against all these things because I do think it's incredibly toxic, and I do think it's incredibly unfair. Every time I have a CEO come to me and say, I'm not hiring white men right now, I say, no, that is exactly the wrong answer. You need to hire the people that are best for the job. And so I want you to know that I'm trying.
Whoa.
She just said they're anti-white.
Hello. Dude, I caught that too.
Okay.
Shit. Wow.
Okay.
That how self-unaware do you have to be? Or
That's when you
tone
know
deaf.
she's really kind of fucking dumb.
Well, no,
That's
I
what
think
she's
she's got her head up her ass.
freaking-
I think, yeah, she's going on this. You know, I think that she thinks she's on a trajectory, and not everybody can be the bizarro version of Beverly D'Angelo, right?
She's so scared of white identitarians latching on to the anti-whiteness aspect of CRT and growing themselves because of it that she's denying the reality that CRT is actually anti-white.
I'm going to entertain.
Ridiculous.
I want you to just indulge me. Why do you think that is with her? What's your gut tell?
I already told you it's that leftist knee-jerk reaction of whenever people I find abhorrent agree with me on something, I have to explain why they don't actually agree with me, because I can't possibly have somebody that is like the best way I could think of it. Like, imagine if Albert Einstein was a white supremacist, right? And every scientist was just like, yep, we have to reject the theory of general relativity, not because his idea on general relativity is right, because his ideas on other things are wrong.
Indeed.
Okay. It's simpler than that, though. It's actually,
It's got me tickled, y'all.
it's far simpler than that. She's just a tribalist that can't figure out where she belongs, but she's got a platform.
Yeah, she needs to disassociate herself. Like, I would love to see Karlyn Borshenko keep going on against CRT, but then like disassociate herself from other ideologies or other things that she might believe, right? Because if you do that, then it's really easy to say, oh yeah, you're gonna say CRT's anti. That's true. There's more to the story, but it's true.
She's a tribalist. Okay, so she realized the Democrat Party was dangerous for her because she's in a mixed race relationship, and that's become dangerous around the actual white identitarians that are known as woke. So she had to bug out of there, and then she went over to Republicans, and she realized that her weird, over emotional response to everything and wanting to mollycoddle everybody wasn't working. So now.
This actually brings me back to how far behind the time she is. She was like, in the Republican Party turns out to be useful. And it was like, we've all known that. Like, none of us here, like, I rate, maybe you've called. No, I don't think you ever did.
What?
Try to think. Have you ever really called yourself a Republican?
No. Fuck no.
I don't think you ever have, nor has Atima or me.
I've voted for Republicans in the past, but I always identified with the ideas behind the Libertarian Party, A, and B, the Constitution. You know, I'm a strong, literal constitutionalist. Doesn't need any help. It's fine like it is. Just interpret it. That's me.
Yeah, I'm a Tea Party conservative. So I've been tertiarily attached to the Republican Party involuntarily simply because of where my politics lie. Now, my real politics, I am a full-blown personal anarchist, and I believe that self-rule is the strongest thing that a person could ever use and do.
The point behind this is all of us for a long time have realized that like our political parties are shit. And none of us have ever like really supported the Republican Party. So when Karlyn gets on Twitter and it's just like, it turns out the Republican Party's useless too. And I was like, how are you just figuring this out?
Holy fuck.
However, I think
I've known this for decades.
Like, yeah, no shit.
She has a blind contempt for the right still. While trying to be part of the right, she still had the mindset of the leftist tribalist she was. And she realized that it didn't work. Because most people on the right are like, whatever, I don't care. Let me smoke my pot and watch my football. Like, they don't fucking care. So when she came up with her feelings and she wants to make everybody included and we're going to talk about interpersonal, Excel, how often do you really want to sit down and have a beer and talk with your buddy Jason about how you feel about typing all day on your keyboard?
Never.
Exactly. Okay. So her problem is that she hasn't figured out how to adapt herself to where she's trying to insert herself, and instead she's trying to make everything adapt itself to her.
Right.
And it's going to blow up in her face. And now she has turned into like a big fat libertarian, and she's part of the Mises caucus, and she goes to all the meetings. And yes, she is just a tribalist. She's somebody who needs something to cling on to.
She's actually starting to, like, for the short time she called herself part of the Mises caucus, she's also started disassociating herself from the Mises caucus. It's kind of hilarious. Because it turns out that there's not one group of people that a very, like, an individual is going to agree with on everything. And apparently, like, from all of this, like with this whole anti-white thing and how she's calling out these white supremacist or white identitarian
I need to address something real quick.
On some things and not other.
So, so all right. So, Quick Strikes Production says, so you think a document written 300 years ago is relevant to the modern age? Well, it sure as hell more modern, more relevant than fucking Marxism, because I've yet to see a Marxist country last over 75 years.
Well, and the document also says exactly what you have to do to change it.
No, hold on. The oldest rule humanity knows was written down, recognized in cuneiform. I think it's about 7,000 or 8,000 years old, if memory serves, and it's treat others as you wish to be treated. So I don't know if we really want to talk about relevancy and how old a saying is.
Yeah,
in a document.
Isn't that part of the Code of Hammurabi? Or something? Yeah. Okay.
It's also known as the Golden Rule. It's been a rule humanity has been trying to use since its inception.
Correct.
It's one that's been written down numerous times. So saying that something is old means it's not relevant is pretty silly.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna I just want to be on record here. I've said a billion times. I've said it on Let's Be Frank streams, which is a highly conservative constitutional stream, that I'm not a constitutionalist, right? I do think it's just a piece of paper. However, I agree with a lot of the principles that are written in the Constitution as they were written.
Right. Well, yeah, if somebody set it on fire,
and there's a difference. Like, I don't think it's any more than the piece of paper that it is, and it only holds weight to uphold its values as much as the population is willing to force it to be upheld.
Well, and there's a process to modify it, correct?
Yep. There is a process to modify it.
Right. So let's roll. Let's get through this, dude.
Here to make sure that this goes away and that we can come back to normal. However, getting into a white identitarian movement is not the answer for this. It's simply not. I'm on your team. I would have your back. I would advocate. I would defend, but I'm not going to do it based on the color of your skin. I'm going to do it based on who you are as a person.
Did you want to stop, Timma? Did you want to stop, Timma?
No, I was mumbling while typing. I'm sorry. The muscle relaxers. Sorry.
And when I look at you, I see a person who has a history, has a heritage, very proud of it. I see someone that at 22 years old is extraordinarily well spoken. Like you obviously have confidence. You have that good demeanor. And I want to be an advocate for you, but I don't want to do it based purely on the color of your skin. I would offer the same support and the same advocacy for anyone. And I will be the first person to tell anyone that says I'm not hiring white men or white men are bad or toxic masculinity or all that stuff. All that stuff is bullshit. And I will freely say that, and I will go to bat. But what I cannot defend and what is absolutely going to destroy my work in this area is if anti-white becomes the centerpiece of the movement, because we're playing right into the left's hands when we do that. They want that. They want to be able to point at people like you and say, look at that awful racist. We told you so. And when that happens, I can't defend against that. I can't. It's just, it's too divisive, I think is the best word. And one of the things that we need to do in order to defeat critical race theory and to put all of this behind us is we need to get more people on the left to wake up. And that's something I'm highly conscious of. And they are not going to wake up and support an anti-white thing. It's just not going to happen. So the best advice that I would give to you is that if you really do want to make progress in this area and you want to dial back all this toxicity directed at white men, we have that in common. I want to do that too. But I need you to work with me here in the reality of what's going on. And I've been fighting this for a year and a half now. I know what language plays well with people. I know what language doesn't. And I don't want to sacrifice all of the work that has been done for the pure purpose of being able to label something anti-white, because it's simply just much more complicated
Did
than
you
that.
say a year and a half?
Is she calling herself the authority?
Pretty much.
Is it the authority fallacy? Appeal to
She
authority?
is.
And she's the authority. You know what I'm saying, Excel?
Yep. Appeal to authority policy.
But
Yeah.
she's then made
But
herself the authority.
she's the authority.
See, okay, so she's saying because she's done this for a whopping year and a half, guys. She's been at this a long time. She fucking knows what she's talking about, y'all.
Yeah, she's
Beautiful.
fucking up because she doesn't understand the dynamics of this conversation prior to her, like, just very
Oh.
recently getting into it. Right?
Fuck me, yeah. Exactly, Liesel. She's doing the work.
Nice. All right. We're going to keep rolling.
Well, this fight's been going on for much longer than that. With all
It
due
has.
doctor.
It has.
You know,
I'm not saying I've been fighting it the longest. I'm just saying that that's my experience, and I have
I
dedicated a lot of
think-
time to it.
I understand where you're coming from, but I do think there's an element of cowardice to this, because you had a caller call in saying that white people had to pay $20 to go to a pride parade. You yourself admit that there are people openly saying they won't hire white men. And there's no other way to put that other than it is anti-white.
What do you? Well, no, because it is much
And
more
free
complicated than that. I
market,
could also
free
point to
love
what they
is
did to Senator Tim
100%
Scott when
correct.
he got up and said America is not a racist country, and they vilified him and called him Uncle Tim on Twitter.
That's-
Like, I mean, there are just as many
Stop, real
instances.
quick.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Like-
There are just as many instances that I can
Yeah.
point out of racism against African Americans.
Yeah, there's a huge problem with what she said, where when she says it's more complicated than that. Whenever you say it's more complicated than that, it doesn't actually change the fact that what Mr. Free Market Love said is true, right?
Yeah.
It is anti-white. Like, it doesn't negate that it's true. There is more to it. Like, the way to reach out to people that might be going down the hyper focus on the anti-white part is not to deny it is anti-white, but to tell them there's more to it. And it is not just anti-white. I don't even see how that's a hard concept to grasp, but Karlyn is apparently making a line in the sand saying, well, I'm not even gonna talk to anybody that just observes the one thing that is absolutely true about critical race theory. Right? The correct response is to say, like, that observation is true. And also there's other things that we need to consider that are also bad if you really want to fight against this. So Karlyn is not doing herself any favors by telling this person that framing things in the terms of anti-white is a bad thing. In fact, it's only reinforcing his opinion that, well, I can't trust you anymore because it's anti-white and you're berating me for saying it's anti-white.
Yeah. And he's not even saying he's like pro-white. He's just saying, I've lived in a world where anti-white is the norm. And she completely ignored all that and said, yeah, I know I'm fighting it, but you can't say anything about it. So tell me you're anti-white without telling me you're anti-white?
Yeah, like it's amazing how she's doing like these bait and switches on language that are the same as what critical race theory does.
They're fucking sophomoric, dude. How can you have a goddamn, what is it, a master's degree or some shit in psychology and use this a doctorate? Holy shit. How can you have a doctorate in fucking psychology
She's
and
a
use
doctor.
this kind of sophomoric shit and think it's going to work? Especially somebody that intelligent and articulate.
It goes back to what I told Irene earlier, where she's a leftist at heart still. And there's this like leftist propensity to being like, every time somebody that agrees with me is a person I don't like, I must make every effort possible to distinguish myself from these evil white supremacists.
Right.
Rather than just saying like, well, the white supremacists are right on that, but they're wrong on other things, which is what I would do.
Exactly.
And Karlyn can't do that. She has no, I think her inherent like leftism that is still in her brain is causing her to
Hey, Tika.
malfunction here.
I think she never stopped being a leftist, honestly.
That have spoken out about this. There's just as many instances that I can point out of misogyny against women who have spoken out against this. There are just as many that I can point out against Asians that have spoken. I work with Chinese American groups that are fighting back against this. They get this backlash too. And I think that we are on the same page in terms of we don't want this shit to happen. But I do not believe that framing it in terms of anti-white is going to get the outcome that you want. It's going to create a movement that is not going to be controllable. And so I understand your frustration. It's going to spiral out of control in the same way that critical race theory has spiraled out of control. Like, if we're framing this in an anti-white context, all you're doing is creating critical race theory on the right. Critical race theory already exists on the left. You want to create the same thing on the right? Because it's exactly the same thing. And critical race theory has spiraled out of control on the left, and we're trying to rein it back in now. If something spirals out of control on the right, we aren't going to have that opportunity. So I'm going to give you one more question, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, we got it.
That's our problem. She doesn't. She's so.
We've got it in check.
She's so late to the party that she doesn't understand. We've already dealt with this.
We've got
and
this
the
in
only
check.
reason she's getting the Groypers on board is because she's responding to them. Because the answer from everybody else is just
it's your mom gay.
Check the freeze frame.
Yeah, we
Look at her facial.
your mom.
I love the freeze frame.
Your mom jokes, exactly.
I'm so fucking petty,
that's
man.
it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's so perfect, man. Sorry.
It seems to me that you're more afraid of the right-wing backlash than you are of critical race theory itself. And to your point where you said we wouldn't have the opportunity to control it from the right side, what do you exactly mean by that? What are you afraid of?
I am equally afraid of both things because both things are exactly the same. I'm equally afraid of both.
What?
They're both exactly the same. Critical race theory has now spiraled beyond what the left can control, and the same thing is going to happen on the right with this white identitarian movement. It is exactly the same. It's two sides of the same coin. So I'm equally afraid of both. So thank you for calling in. I'm glad we were able to have a civil discussion. And, you know, I really hope you don't go down this road because I don't think it's going to be a winning strategy in terms of the goals that you say that you have. But I appreciate you being polite and having a civil conversation with me. And have a good night. All right.
Yeah, so
that went shockingly well. I feel like I'm very composed for people who think I'm spiraling out of control. I just want to say that. I feel like I'm being very composed.
Did you hear that?
What?
She just said she feels she's been very composed.
Oh yeah, right.
Because the only reason that's true is because she was ignoring all of his serious concerns.
It's funny. I've been mellow this whole time. You're the assholes, man. You're cranking me up. No, you're not. I'm too mellow. I'm too cool. I'm too.
Yeah,
too
dude,
calm.
she's so fucking crackheaded, dude. This is like she's like the weird girl, bad haircut version of Tonka Saw.
Man, your hate for her grew enormously.
Oh no, I listened to some of her videos from the past weeks today while I was
Tim
dealing with
deals
my
a
kids.
devastating body blow.
Any of it.
Fuck, dude, it was fucking awful. It's not even sophistry. We can't even call it sophistry. You would have to put more effort into. Sophistry requires more brain power than whatever the fuck this is she's doing. Her bait and switch is shit, dude. She's got to be like, don't ever play 3-card Monty or do play 3-card Monty with her because you'll get all your money back every fucking time. This is awful. Like, my 9-year-old does a better job of trying to manipulate a situation than this woman is doing. So
yeah, my thought, like, I'm gonna be as credulous as possible. I don't think she's trying to do what she's actually doing.
Listen to this.
I think she's suffering from cognitive dissonance and not being able to sort out what is correct and what is incorrect objectively.
She can't figure out that two things can be true at the same time, and they can be diametrically opposed and still coexist.
Yep. I mean,
all right, so Virgin.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but you just have to think about like normal people. That level of cognitive dissonance is everywhere.
All right, Virgie,
I mean, just
donates $2. And I was all gonna say is that she blocked me for saying that she was spiraling.
That's
yeah.
I mean, and that's one thing is where like I still like a lot of people are giving James Lindsay shit now. But guess what he's not doing is blocking people. He is actually more trolling than ever.
Yes.
It's because he's just realized that like some of the shit that is presented to him does not require an academic defense. And he's actually talked about that, like especially if you are on Patreon for new discourses.
He'll blow up on your ass, man. Yeah, I like it. He's done really with the civility aspect of it, and he just he hits it like he sees it, right?
Yeah, at the same time, like with like Karlyn's concerns, he's already gotten past that. He's like, I don't care if people that have bad ideas agree with me in some point.
She said something the other day.
It's not going to change the way I present my ideas.
She said he had her back on one of the points that she was making, and I couldn't figure out what she meant by that this week. I was like, what are you fucking talking about?
Because apparently he said that CRT isn't inherently anti-white. Meaning that he was saying it's racist, not anti-white. But I think James Lindsay is more trying to just get away from everybody talking about it because he wants to talk about what's actually inside CRT. And he says it's misanthropic.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit earlier where I don't remember his exact response, but it's not like he denied it was anti-white. It was more like if we're going to fight this, we have to approach it from like a logical and from his perspective, liberal standpoint.
Well, yeah,
like classically liberal.
He's saying she's getting bogged down in the minutia,
huh?
Maybe or semantics, right?
Probably. I think she's getting bogged down in the ego.
Well,
not wrong at all.
She doesn't. She's so like all this stems from what I said earlier. It's like she really just wants to make sure that there could be no link between her and actual white supremacists because that's a big deal to her. In which I don't really give a shit, right? Like if white supremacists think that like we should have low tax rates, and people are like, yes, who else thinks we should have low tax rates? White supremacists. Where it's like that has nothing to fucking do with why I think we should have low tax rates.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad they're on my side for that. Right? Like,
yeah, right, exactly. It's almost like religion.
People, they're gonna exist, but I don't like. At the end of the day, just if we all agree, like we should have low tax rates. I don't care what the reason is. Let's just have low tax rates.
Exactly.
I really do think she hasn't figured out that the mindset of the left isn't the mindset of the rest of the world.
Right, it's because we call that insanity, but yeah, it's not sane.
I mean, I basically explained like this whole thing is her going out against white supremacists, right? Like she's just like, I really don't like white supremacists. I'm not a fan. I don't hate them as much as she does, and I explained why.
So she's virtue signaling.
Like, I don't give a shit if a white supremacist agrees with me on something that has nothing to do with white supremacy fundamentally.
Yeah. Well, it's like, oh, Hitler drank water, so y'all you can't drink any water, okay?
Yeah, you brought that up earlier. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Like, you don't, and it actually makes you look bad because this is a leftist tool, and she's talking about other people falling into a trap. She's falling into a trap because actual white supremacists. I'm still reluctant to call them supremacist because there's a gradient when it comes to the white identitarian movement, but
yeah,
that's irrelevant. Like, just because people that I disagree with on a lot of things race related agree with me on one issue doesn't mean I need to retreat from this issue and try to redefine it so that they can't agree with me anymore.
Yeah. I had a thought and it just ran away. Damn it. It's getting really hot in this room, y'all. So
well, we only got 10 minutes left for hitting the 2-hour mark. So let's get through our next 10 minutes and just call it a night.
All right. Sounds good to me. All right. And we'll keep rolling right now.
live impromptu stream, mostly because I want to explain something that I don't think is coming across clearly, and I didn't feel like making another video today about it that I did formally to export it, so I'm just going to jump on for a quick stream. I do have something I need to do at 4, but I want to just give people a minute to come in, and we're going to have a little chat, and I'm going to explain a concept that I think many people are confused about, and we are going to go from there. I'm just giving people a minute to come in, and I'm giving people a minute to see what's what, and we're going to go as soon as it seems things are started off. But I hope everyone is having a great day. I'm just going to tweet this out really quickly. Just make sure people know I'm even live, because they may not know. And of course, our little white identitarian friends might show up. That's okay. Going live now to explain the difference between saying critical race theory is racist and critical race theory is anti-white. Adam, I'm literally live on my channel right now. Adam from Sitch and Adam. 4 dislikes because it's the trolls. Roddy, I'm going to make you a moderator. Roddy, congratulations on ascending to moderator. All right. We don't have a big crowd yet. It doesn't surprise me. It's the middle of the day. Sometimes the middle of the day is a little bit hard, but like I said, I wanted to do this now really quickly because Gail. Okay, thank you for that, Gail. I will look for that tweet. Gail, just send me a DM again, please, just so it's at the top of the pile. I appreciate that. So, guys, what I want to do really quickly, just because it was just going to be easier for me to jump on a stream and explain it, is there seems to be a lot of confusion over the fact. Oh, Alexandra's here. Alexandra, you are ascending to moderator. Congratulations on your promotion. So I wanted to just take a minute to explain why I think it's not only correct to say that critical race theory is racist instead of critical race theory is anti-white, but it is also actually the more consistent position based on everything I've seen over the last year. So this is really important. So I want to rewind a year ago, right? When all this Black Lives Matter stuff started happening and people were starting to pressure people to say Black Lives Matter and raise their fist and going into these restaurants and surrounding people and pressuring people to raise their fist and say Black Lives Matter. Well, what did the right do to that? The right was like, well, we think all lives matter, Karlyn. We think all lives matter, and when we say all lives matter, that includes Black lives too. Now, I never really waded into this debate, honestly, because I didn't really care all that much. I am not a proponent of Black Lives Matter, the organization. Oh, hey, Christian. I'm not a proponent of Black Lives Matter, the organization, at all, so I'm not going to raise my fist and say Black Lives Matter. That's just not going to happen. I totally get the all lives matter thing. I do, and I appreciate the sentiment of it. What they're saying is that, like, everyone's life matters. Totally true. I tend to think the right uses it as a troll, though. I don't necessarily think that it's always used in good faith. I think they're trying to piss people off sometimes. Not all the time, but I think they are. But let's just look at the language for a second, because we're really focusing in on language now. If we're talking about Black Lives Matter versus all lives matter, one can make the argument that saying Black Lives Matter is focusing in on a specific race, whereas saying all lives matter is encompassing of all races. Okay? Now, based on that explanation, do we want to focus in on a specific race, or do we want to be inclusive of everyone, say that everyone matters, and everyone has worth, and everyone has value? So if you would like us to just say Black Lives Matter, I want you to type BLM into the chat. If you would like us to say all lives matter, I would like you to type ALM into the chat now. Okay? Which one do we want? Between those two choices, do we want Black Lives Matter, or do we want all lives matter? BLM or ALM, which is more appropriate for what you would prefer, given what we know. Okay, so we have ALM. Yeah, I mean, dare to dream, Liberty Lion. Dare to dream, my friend. So basically, so ALM, exactly, right? Like, ALM seems, like, obvious, right? Well, ALM isn't obvious, or isn't Marxism. It's just saying that all lives matter. So if we had to choose between the two, the chat is overwhelmingly ALM. Okay. We have set our stake in the ground. We have said that we are going to be as inclusive as many inclusive as many as people as possible. Everyone's life matters. Everyone is important. It doesn't matter if your skin is black or white or brown or Asian or any other derivation or biracial or anything. Like, your life matters regardless of what your color of your skin is, except if you're Roddy, who believes in Asian supremacy, and then he might have disagreements with that. Roddy is a member of my locals community, so I'm just making a joke there. I know who he is. So we want all lives matter. Okay, now let's apply this to the critical race theory discussion. I am currently being pressured by everyone and their mother to say critical race theory is anti-white. I don't believe critical race theory is just anti-white. I believe critical race theory is anti-white.
That's nuts. Just hold on. There was another cognitive dissonance right there. So it's okay for her Asian friends to make jokes about Asian supremacy. But if her white friends make jokes about white supremacy, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Double standard.
She's doing it again.
Yeah, I've often said that double standards are like oxygen for the left.
Yeah.
You know,
And she also did the automatic assumption that the right is shit again.
exactly. Yeah, you caught that too. Yeah. Right.
It doesn't even matter if they're doing the right thing. They're still shit. It's just like, what the fuck, dude? How can, whatever.
Anti-black, anti-Latino, anti-Asian, absolutely anti-biracial. They're teaching biracial kids to hate their white parent. So I believe that critical race theory is racist towards everyone. So if we have already decided that we want to have the most inclusive
It's amazing how many times
she's
admitted that critical race theory is anti-white without explicitly saying it's anti-white.
Right. If a person is of mixed race and they're literally told to hate the parent that is white.
Oh no, I had somebody else that was mixed race today tell me I'm not allowed to call myself mixed race because I describe myself as white as well as mixed race.
By the way, QN calling Karlyn Borshinko racist. I don't believe that personally. I don't think
she hates white people. No, I think she hates white people.
I think she, I think she thinks she's better than everybody. Okay. That's what I get from her.
Well, like the egoism is certainly there. I do believe that genuinely, and I think she's repeated it, that we should judge everybody based on themselves as an individual. I think she believes that. I think she has a lot of cognitive dissonance around,
absolutely,
black identity groups versus white identity groups.
Totally
both of them are like I don't like at all. Right. I've actually told a friend at work, I respect the fuck out of this guy, to be honest, but I've told him, like, I don't think that, like, you made your own clothing line and brand he's a graphic designer, around clothes for black people, right? I'm just like, why? Why would you do that? And he comes up with excuses about how, well, it's different for us because we have all these issues, like things that are like tangentially CRT. And
like
but I'll respond back and be like, well, like put all that aside. Like, let's make the world you want to live in. Do you want to live in a world where like being black is something different than being white, or do you want to live in a world where we treat each other as equals? And he has problems answering those questions. So, I mean, I guess just circling back to Karlyn, like I feel like it's beyond her to like really understand that.
Well, I'm telling you, she's really kind of dumb.
Maybe myopic.
Well, my answer is what I would say. Keep saying dumb. I'm not going to say dumb. I just think she is really, really fucking late to the party. And this maybe whole anti-white thing is proof that she's just really, really fucking late to the party.
Just needs to like, all right, turn the cam off for a week and just live on 4chan. All right. And that should bring her up to speed. That's my prescription. Just saying.
Or even better, get off the internet for a month. Get off the internet for a month and only show up to government procedures that have to do with CRT. There's tons of them going on right now. Right. School boards, legislatures. Just show up, talk there. Right. And you're going to see that most of the people, they're not your Groypers, right? Like, you're not going to find very many of them. You might find one, just like she said. And I found one guy.
But like a quarter of the Groypers I know.
Most of the time.
But a quarter of the Groypers I know are fucking half Mexican. So I don't get why she's calling them white supremacists. It's just a bunch of nationalists, from what I can tell.
That's one thing she's doing. Where I said earlier is there's a gradient on the white identitarian movement where you have like this libertarian idea of white identitarianism, which is like your Jared Taylors of the world, all the way to the very, very small percentage of people that are actual skinheads and just want to eradicate people of other races from their country.
Right.
Well, the skins were never particularly popular as a group in America anyway.
Yep.
Right. So it's right at the top of the hour. Do you want to finish this out, or do you want to stop here?
Just play the rest of the video and then stop.
Okay.
Do we say critical race theory is anti-white, or do we say that critical race theory is racist? Which one of those is more inclusive? Critical race theory is anti-white, or critical race theory is racist? Because we know that critical race theory doesn't just impact white people. We can look at what happened to Senator Tim Scott when he gave the response to Biden's first big speech, where he got up and said America is not a fundamentally racist country, and he was attacked ad nauseum. We can see every single time a non-white person speaks up against critical race theory, they are attacked ad nauseum. We can see them going after Chinese and Asian American groups. We can't even have a conversation.
Exactly.
Like, she agrees that we can say critical race theory is racist, but we can't say it's anti-white. And what I'm saying is, like, let's acknowledge it's anti-white and then say it's also these other things, which is racist against all groups. That's super easy, and that is actually way better at keeping people off the cliff from white nationalism or deciding that they need to congregate among some white identity than it is what she's saying, which is just denying that it's anti-white.
Which is stupid, because you have to deny the concept of white identity, which is a bad idea, because there's a whole lot of people that white identity isn't something that's racist to them. It might just be, fucking raise hell and eat cornbread. It might be a drawl. It might be a fucking flag. It might be a helmet that hangs on the wall. It's not necessarily the skin color, and she keeps throwing it off like it's nothing big.
I don't have this feeling, but I know where you're getting at, Atima, right? Like, there's people that have their family history is very important to them. It is passed
Southern
down
pride,
from generation to generation, and it's not like they appreciate that and want to adhere to it to some degree because they hate other races. It's because they just want to be proud of theirs, and some of those are white people, right? And it's counterproductive to be like what Karlyn's doing. It's just denying that there's any such thing as anti-whiteness going on with CRT when it's obviously happening. That's the problem. Like, you explain to these people that have these strong feelings about their identity group, right, and their history.
Yeah, you're talking to a Southerner. Actually, you're talking to a pair of Southerners. Or 3 Southerners, actually. Aren't we all Southerners?
Yeah, and you try to tell them that all the shit you're hearing that sounds anti-white isn't actually anti-white, because it's more complicated than that. And you should not focus on that or even care that it's anti-white. You need to get on my page and understand the broader perspective. And how dare you call it anti-white? If you do, I'm gonna block you. I'm going to ban you. You're never going to hear a word I say ever again about this ideology around that again. What's that going to do? It's going to make them be like, all right, I'm going to go to the Groypers and strengthen my white identity and be more focused on it. So what she's explaining, like what she's doing, is completely counterproductive to the outcome that she wants.
And she's doing this with a doctorate in psychology.
Agreed. Yeah, that's the.
It seems like psychology 101. Like, when people feel attacked, like they get defensive and they retreat to anybody that will defend them.
Well, yeah, and defense mechanisms, right? Exactly. People usually defense mechanisms are erected when a person doesn't want to be confronted with something true about themselves. Right?
Yes.
There's nothing else to defend. So I think that rings really strong in this situation. All right, I'm going to play some more. We're about halfway through it.
About who is committing hate crimes against Asian Americans, because those are African Americans, and because of critical race theory, we can't even have an honest conversation about that. So now I want to ask the chat.
Yeah, man, there's people all over my goddamn TV telling me about some like this great Asian rectification or some shit. Whatever.
All of you who just said that we would prefer all lives matter over Black Lives Matter, based on the stake that you set in the ground, should we call critical race theory anti-white, or should we call critical race theory racist? Go ahead and type your answers into the chat. Are we looking for anti-white, or are we looking for racist? Critical race theory is racist.
Well,
Critical race theory is
policy.
racist. Racist. No, not both. Not both. No, 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 no. Because we're gonna go for consistency here. If you said that you would prefer all lives matter over Black Lives Matter because Black Lives Matter is included in all lives matter, and you want to be more inclusive of everyone because everyone is included in all lives matter, then guess what? You cannot say that critical race theory is anti-white without coming across as a great big hypocrite. Because if you say critical race theory is racist, that includes white people, that includes Black people, that includes Latino people, that includes Asian people, that includes all
This
of the
is
people
incredibly illogical.
that are impacted by critical race theory.
Equivalency.
And so if you
Well, yeah, and she doesn't care if she's like viewed as a hypocrite.
But
Oh my
it's
God.
not actually an either or choice. It's a both. Like, the most logical answer is both.
Right.
Like, from a Socratic perspective. I don't.
There's
Yeah,
no-
two
there's
things can
literally
be
no-
true at once.
Yeah, there's literally no contradiction to the statement. Critical race theory is racist, and critical race theory is anti-white. There's no contradiction there. Those are like in racism. Those like if you did a Venn diagram, it would just be one big circle.
I don't. She's not making any sense. You're right, Jack Gunsky. She's not making any sense. And this whole diatribe she does here is nothing but her not making sense and trying to make this weird leap of you can't talk about white people. Oh, but this is racism. I really do think she thinks that white people like are the only ones that can't experience racism or something.
Well, it also circles back to the same thing I said earlier, where what she's doing is she's retreating back to this point where she doesn't want to be looked at as a bad person. Just because there are people that are actually like white identitarians that she disagrees with, and she doesn't want to she wants to make sure nothing she says could possibly back up any ideas they have, even if those ideas are really just kind of in line with what she says. Because what Hitler drank wine.
Yeah.
Faithless is right. It's a semantic dodge for her fifis.
Exactly.
Nicely put. Hey, Tika. All right, we're going to finish that here.
are one of these people who came out and said, all lives matter. I don't even know why we're having this conversation. All lives matter. All lives matter. All lives matter. And you're calling critical race theory anti-white. Well, you're showing your cards there. You're showing your cards. You're doing one thing when it's convenient, and you're being completely contradictory with the other point. I am not going to be ethically inconsistent. When I say all lives matter, I actually mean all lives matter. And when I say critical race theory is racist, that includes racism against white people. It includes racism against Black people. It includes racism against Latinos. It includes racism against Asian Americans. It includes racism against biracial people. It includes everyone. Everyone.
So it's like, I
Critical
agree
race
it's
theory
anti-white,
is
but it's anti-other
racist, full
people
stop.
too,
And if
so I
you
hate
have
that
the
you call it
inclination
anti-white.
to focus specifically on the white population to the detriment of everyone else, to the detriment of every other group that this ideology impacts, then you are ethically and intellectually inconsistent, and you need to rethink that. But in the meantime, what you're not going to do, I'm sorry, you're not going to police my language. I will decide what language I use, and I will decide what language I do not use. And if you have a problem with me saying critical race theory is racist versus critical race theory is anti-white, then I'm just going to recommend that you take a long look in the mirror and you ask yourself if you ever actually cared about all of the lives that critical race theory does impact. Because I care deeply.
How many people I alienate and how many people I don't alienate. And that is my right to alienate people because I have a mission to spread this message. And, you know, the best way to do that is to alienate as many people as possible, which I think the road she's going down. And that is contradictory.
I am right. And this is my emotional ploy as to why I am right. I don't have any actual reason for why I'm right. But if you don't care about things like I care about things, well, then you're not right.
Yep.
It was like the
That's what you said,
Crusades.
isn't it?
Either
That's what's going
convert or
on.
die.
It's so terrible and it's so sad. Like the worst part about all of this is it's really sad to see. Like we should not be doing this screen.
No.
Exactly.
This is pathetic.
no shit. You know, it's like, and when I saw this shit happening this week, I said, you know, it's inevitable. At some point, I got to talk about this shit.
She rose to fame. She's become a good voice. There's a lot of good work she has done. And now we're having to sit here and be like, God fucking damn it. Like, this person that we thought was like doing good work was all of a sudden doing negative work on the entire issue.
Well, okay, so the one villain in all of CRT is whiteness. How is it not inherently anti-white when the main villain for CRT is whiteness? I don't understand. I know she wants to parse and say it's not actual white people. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't change the fact that whiteness is actually a thing. I'm sorry.
I mean, we've talked about this on stream a billion times. Like, I agree, it's not necessarily just whiteness, but you can't sit around and deny that it's white. Like, that's ridiculous. It absolutely is. And it says so explicitly. Like, it's insane that just because you're like, it's more complicated than that, you would deny that it's anti-white. It's not doing, excuse me, anybody any favors.
She's also saying there's no such thing as white culture. She's actually trying to support, like, the premises of CRT while saying that CRT is bad. And I don't know how the fuck you get there, because she really is. She's saying that white people don't have culture that they should be proud of. White people shouldn't be able to. I don't get it.
She's doing the same, like, language manipulation that CRT does in order to obfuscate itself.
Hey, I'm going to bring Virgie in because he had something he wanted to say about this.
Okay, I've only got about 10 minutes, y'all. I'm dying here.
I feel you. Virgie, can you hear us?
Oh, you're muted, brother.
You're muted, man.
I'm so dumb. I was on the wrong screen. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to pull me in now, man. I just meant after the stream. I didn't want to impose.
It's fine. As a matter of fact, I just told you to hop in the green room. So.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, it's also basically over. Like, there's not much left in this video.
It's just going to be her trying to emotionally chastise everybody into doing what she wants them to do.
Well, yeah, but I actually have I think a little bit of a unique perspective on this. All right. Problem here is that we're all trying to look at this look at her actions and the way that she's behaving and the way that she's trying to frame things through the perspective of, you know, logic and reality. Whereas you can sum it up and you can take the girl out the left, but you can't take the left out the girl. She's still looking at the entire world through a frame of intersectionality and lefty fucking thought. That's why a second ago, a minute ago, you notice basically her entire argument is that we should be using the term CRT is racist because it's more inclusive. She values inclusivity over truth. That's what's happening here. It's not that the term is incorrect. It's not that it's not the truth. It's not that it's wrong. It's that you are not being inclusive. That's the issue here. Everybody here is looking at her from our worldview. She's looking at the world from the left. She's not on the right. She's a leftist.
I actually never considered myself part of the right until.
Well, I wouldn't say. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to assume anything. But these days, everything fucking that's not Stalin is the right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to assume.
That's exactly what kind of put me to, like, I guess I'm right leaning. Like, it's not one of those things where, like, I really have put a whole lot of thought as to where I fall in.
I'm not attached to any terminology.
Virgin, you're not a tanky man.
In 2008, I became a huge Ron Paul supporter and started reading a lot of literature by people that were kind of like the right libertarian types. So, like, if somebody called me a right libertarian, that would be accurate. It's just the way they describe left and right, I find it fundamentally flawed.
I agree.
Like, especially, like, you look at the political compass test, right? So it has these axes that make a little bit of sense, right? Like the left versus right is about economics. The north versus south is about what people are allowed to do socially. And it kind of makes sense, but like I'm sitting there like, well, on this, I would be like on the bottom right. Like I want people to have maximum economic and social freedom. And then I see people on the left though that will call people like me fascist, and I'm just like, you know what? That kind of makes sense if you turn this 2D grid into a 1D grid. Because I look at fascism and I'm like, that's an authoritarian centrist position.
Well, all right. So here's
it is certainly to the right of what you would call communism. But if
you play ska music, that's definitely skinhead shit. You're obviously a Nazi.
I'm obviously a Nazi. That's true.
I mean, really, skinhead.
But no, like you also see communists being like, liberalism is just a step away from fascism. But that's because if you look at that 2D grid political compass test, they're sitting there in the upper left, right? They're these communist authoritarians. And they're looking at fascism, which is like in the middle. And then behind them, they see liberals, which is actually on the bottom right. But you got to like take the graph and imagine that you're the person in the upper left staring forward to the fascists, which are in the authoritarian middle. Then you see actual liberals just right behind them, so you think they're the same thing.
I mean, yeah, it's all relative, and as far as they're concerned, once you get to that point.
Y'all think about it, Tim. She's got to scoot because she's hotter than hell.
That sucks, dude. I'm sorry.
It's cool. No, that's fine.
Pop in and steal her seat.
No, she was talking about how hot it was, man. It's hellish where she's at.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, she's
We're
important.
not done anyway because there's not much left in this video for us to care about.
But we got okay. If you want to kill it, we can do that. You want to do a little bit more? Let's do the bottom of the hour. We'll do the bottom of the hour and then send everybody the minions of the zoo. All right, and see Harry.
All right.
And company. Enough. All right, let's roll.
More detrimental to young African American children who are taught from the time they're kids that the entire world is working against them. I think it's maybe not more detrimental, maybe that was a misspeak, but just as detrimental as it is to everyone else. If you are teaching 13% of our society that they will never be anything because of the color of their skin, because the system will constantly be working against them, that is racist. If you are not holding those people to higher I know Barry Weiss's word. I was emailing with Barry Weiss earlier today. Like, if you are not holding those people to higher expectations.
This is more.
If you were saying, you're African American, so we can lower the admission standard. We can let you out of your finals after George Floyd dies. That is the soft bigotry of low expectations, and that is racist in and of itself. Now, you can use whatever language you want. The language you use is your business. But I will tell you, flat out, that there are a lot of very, very, very angry white people in this country that are only focused on the impact towards white people. And it is starting to spin up a white identitarian movement that we've seen on this channel. We've seen it. You can go watch the clip from last night. You can go watch the clip of that young man in the cowboy hat. They came onto my stream last night.
I will say,
he is not well. He is not well, and I genuinely hope he comes out of this. I really, really do. But this is not good. I have already been deeply reflective about what contribution I may have made to the situation. And I certainly
interaction I've actually had with these people, like I've seen a lot more of it would just fall off the white identitarian train. Ask more information.
And honestly, a lot of it.
You know how they fall off the white identitarian train is because of people like James Lindsay explaining CRT and universal liberalism, and they're just like, all right, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, right? Because most of my enemies are white liberals. I just want to live in a society that has like the most unintrusive government possible, and that's what most of these white identitarians want. So,
right? I mean, it's just so. It's weird to see a grifter like jump onto a grift way late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's so late. Like we've already dealt with this. We have. Right,
yeah,
like,
dude,
all of us have watched like every single. I guarantee. Did you watch the Stick Sargon versus Richard Censor stream?
Oh yeah, dude, I was around for that shit.
Yeah, like, that was like 4 years ago. And
Yeah,
like
man.
many things similar existed, right? Where these people that are kind of like Karlyn, they're against this whole CRT movement
Who's snoring?
or social justice movement, and they've. So
I mean,
there's
dude, you can
common
take
ground.
everything she said and replace CRT with cultural Marxism, and it's the same shit that we've said. Or it's the same
Yeah.
conversations and arguments that we had fucking 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep. I've
6,
talked about
7
this on this. I've talked about this on this stream a lot. It's where initially we called it out as cultural Marxism, and then that got labeled like it was some sort of conspiracy theory or whatnot.
Right.
So all that's happened is like people that are, qualified to actually research this stuff have labeled it what they actually label it. So they have no more excuses. Because cultural Marxism, it's accurate, but it's a pejorative, right? It's not what they claim it is. But CRT, that's what they actually call it. They actually have textbooks, Introduction to Critical Race Theory, right? Like that's a real thing that they would call it themselves, even though it is cultural Marxism, which is pejorative. And there's a valid reason to call it cultural Marxism.
Mm-hmm.
We have better tools now to call it out for what it is.
Not going to make any.
I just realized real quick, if this chick didn't get married, she'd probably be Big Red. You remember Homegirl Big Red? The feminist chick?
Oh,
That's
I
who
think
we're
I know who
looking
you're
at.
talking about. Oh shit.
We're looking at alternate reality Big Red, where she fucking bought a cat and got married.
Who she wasn't a lesbian.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use this opportunity. Like I know Tima left, and Tima has more personal reasons to hate it. I am not anti Karlyn Borshenko.
Me either, man.
Anti the direction she is going, and I think she needs to correct course.
Well, and
That is
that's
my
kind of what this
opinion, and I
video
have
she's
valid
doing.
reasons for that opinion. I have stated that throughout the stream.
Yeah.
But I think she rose to fame too fast. She had good intuitions on what is going on.
And she's
I
got a
also think that
shitload of people in
she's
her ear,
responding
man.
to something right now that has always existed and pretending that it is a bigger deal than it actually
Her
is.
DMs are
And
flooded.
that is going to ruin her if she focuses on it.
I agree. All right, you ready, bro? Let's roll some more.
Situation. Now, does that mean I'm not
About
going to
5
report on
minutes.
things like the Coke Be Less White training? Of course I am, because that's blatantly effing racist. Coke shouldn't have done that training. Robin DeAngelo shouldn't have done that training. It's racist. But is that any more important than racism against any other group? No. No, it's not. And I don't think that most people think it is. I think that most people do genuinely care about the impact on other people that don't look like them. But when the loudest voices are banging the drum and saying it's anti-white, 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 that is going to stir up a lot of angry people to be even more angry than they were already, and those people are going to end up doing very bad things.
They are not the loud voices.
Is that what any of you want? Because I don't. Listen, the anti-white
Yes, the
language in
loudest
regards to
voices
critical race
coming
theory,
out of
it really
CRT
only
shit
caught on
is-
about a
is the
month ago.
white supremacists.
We have successfully been
Yeah.
pushing back against critical race theory for a while now and having amazing victories.
It actually might have been
without
6 years
using
ago.
this language. And again, you're free to say whatever you want, but my plea with people, and especially content creators, and especially influencers, and especially people starting online newsrooms, Tim Pool, is that we be very careful about the
Jesus
language that we're
Christ.
using.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't do Tim Pool any danger, any damage at all, to institute an editorial policy to say, we are not going to say that critical race theory is anti-white. We're going to say it's racist, we're going to say it's un-American, we're going to say it's anti-history, we're going to say any of these things. Wouldn't do him any damage at all. They can refer to it as anything they want. But referring to
The
it
only
by a
thing
race
you can't
is
refer
fundamentally...
to it as
Dude,
anti-white.
you know,
That's pretty anti-white.
Dude,
Yeah,
she
that
is butthurt about the Cassandra Fairbanks.
She's
She
actually
wants to be on
literally
Tim Pool's show.
conceding to the left something that does not need to be conceded.
I think she secretly wanted to be on Tim Pool's show, and she got turned down or some shit.
Oh, that's definitely part of it.
You
That's
know what I'm saying,
definitely
man?
part of it.
That sounded salty as fuck to me, man.
Yeah, well, it's because it's partially that.
Virgin,
partially
you're cracking me up,
Cassandra
dude.
Fairbanks got hired and fucking
I know. Yeah, I saw that. That's
right around
funny
the
as
time
shit.
where she said, "Can the left please take this bitch back?"
racist in and of itself. And if I haven't been clear about my position on this, I am sorry. I have been working it out over the past 5 days. I am a flawed human being. I am not perfect. Spoiler alert, I'm not perfect. But this is my
That's
position on it.
the-
I think it is an incredibly inconsistent position to say critical race
I
theory is
agree with you
anti-white
there.
and all lives matter. That's really inconsistent.
Other than
And,
all,
you know, and it is being pushed everywhere. And this is a conversation, dude. I've been on the phone with reporters today. This is a conversation
fucking
that
Jesus.
that has been going on, and this is something that is going to be reported on. So all these little white identitarians, like, you're going to be coming out of the open pretty soon, man. You really, really are. Okay, I saw some super chats come in. I hope I still have them all on the screen that I can show.
You're
I think I missed the
so
first one
late.
being on the screen, so I can't show that one. But I'm sorry. The Dashing Rogue says CRT is an offshoot of critical theory.
We're gonna end her here, right?
Personally, I find her to be a pompous, self-entitled dickhead.
He's turned into that, yes.
That fucking what tiny little bit of fame that she's garnered off of her whatever you want to call it, it has gone directly to her fucking head. Like the most negative thing she said about her, like out of that whole fucking time, how many times did she jump up her own ass saying, "Oh well, fucking, oh, I was incredibly great in that last interview with some random guy that I hung up on." Fucking
Yeah, you're right. Like I love the fight she picked up. I think she makes a lot of good points, but I also think that some of her prior biases and her lack of information that existed before she picked up the fight is really, really hurting her.
She relapsed on her leftiness.
All this shit about like these Groypers that are white supremacists or white identitarian. Like, we've already dealt with this shit for fucking ever. Like, it's something like we all know. Like, oh yeah, I agree. Like, these people that are they try to reach out to you. Like, so Karlyn's like, oh, I'm afraid they're gonna recruit people that are also against CRT to be part of the movement. Like, they've always done that, right? They pick like a very limited thing, like anti-immigration is a good example, right? There's plenty of reasons why anybody of any skin color could be anti-immigration, but of course a white supremacist or a white nationalist is going to be against it just because they don't want people that are white immigrating to our country. That's not hard to understand why they believe that. So of course, they're with you on the point that we should limit immigration. They have different reasons why. That's okay. And they're also a very small percentage of the population. And the best way to deal with them, which is what we've done for the last 4 or 5 years, is ignore them.
Ignore them, and when we don't, ridicule them.
We ignore
the
them.
only
We don't
things
even we don't even like talk about them because we realize it's a tiny percentage of the people.
The only time those people ever get mentioned is literally when we're mocking them.
Yeah, like you mock them. I mean, the strategy for dealing with them has been set, and Karlyn is just way behind.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, you go back.
What she's doing is responding to them, and also pissing other people off. It was like, look, they're fucking up because we know how to deal with these people. We can agree that it's anti-white, but we can also say like everything else you think is bullshit. That's the answer. It's that easy.
Yeah, dude. It's not exclusive terms. It's like you don't have to pick one or the other. It's
yeah. It's frustrating as hell.
It's so frustrating.
It's maddening. Yeah.
But like, if I could get into a conversation with Karlyn, I would be like, let me take you back to 2015.
Yeah.
And I would just go
explain to you what the fuck exactly.
And like, it was the same shit, right? The Atlantic ran an article on the alt-right.
She has no reference, right? Exactly. You're absolutely right. She has no reference point on all that shit.
I'm really kind of curious to see if Adam and Sitch are gonna have her on to talk about this.
She said something about Adam being in her chat. Did you hear that earlier?
Yeah, I did.
I would have loved it if Karlyn would have came and defended her position with us, but we're a small channel, so she has no reason to do so.
Oh yeah.
But,
no, she would hang up on us. Fucking
right. Well,
I mean, I have the feeling that that's something that Adam's probably gonna want to do. I mean, he's had her on the show before. I mean, pretty recently too, within like the last 2 months or so.
Adam and Sitch are like proof that this is not a left versus right issue. Like, these people are paying attention. Like, I'm pretty sure Adam is far more left than I am. He's kind of like Sargon. I remember, like, Jeff Holiday, I
Old
pointed out,
school
was like,
liberal, yeah.
Sargon would have been, like, in like the 1990s, a standard Democrat.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, cool, what's your point? Well, like, my fucking point is like, just because he's against these new radical ideas, like, I have a lot to disagree with Sargon about what he believes is the proper role of government, which used to be the argument we had.
Yeah, just because
Like,
he throws a
everything's
fucking
fucking
MAGA hat
changed.
on doesn't mean he's fucking, you know what I mean? Doesn't change.
Yeah, Sargon is like, I love fucking universal healthcare in Britain. I love universal like college tuition, like things that in America used to be arguments we had left or right. But apparently Sargon's a far right.
I need to tell
far
Quick
right
Strix
leader.
one thing. All right, so I don't believe that criminals should be enslaved, but I do believe they should be experimented on, especially people on death row. I think they're fair game because they're going to die anyway. So take the black pill, or take the lead pill.
The lead pill.
Get lead pill,
I mean,
nigga.
I'm not entirely against it. I have no knee-jerk reaction to that. I could probably be convinced.
But
You've been
we're
awesome,
at the
but I
bottom of
think
the
we're,
hour.
coming about to
Yeah,
close
man,
time.
it's fun.
No, it's all
Virgin's
good.
fun as fuck,
I want to
man.
get off. I want to get off now too. So
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, let's say goodbye, everybody. Go to the Millions of the Zoo. Harry's got it going tonight. He always does. He's a groovy dude. I like him. So yeah, give him some love and donate to Trippy. God damn it. As a matter of fact, let me put Trippy's Streamlabs in there one more time. He's gonna need some money, people.
Give him your shekels.
Yeah, exactly. He's worth shekels, man. He's made me laugh so goddamn much in the past 3 years I've known him. But and on that note, I'm gonna say goodbye.
Later, all thanks for joining, and we will see you maybe next week on another episode of XD. Which stands for
Accelerated Deconstruction.
No, it stands for Big Dick.
Giant caulk.
Ha 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 ha.